Chapter 1955. Suyu curled his lips. How have you been? Hearing this, the tree goddess put away the god's stone carefully and extended her small palm. What? Give me a few storage spaces for the stones like the one just now. Suyu rolled his eyes. Do you think they fell from the sky? Where did you get them? You are so stingy. It's just a few broken stones. Suyu was speechless. Those were not stones. They were God's stones. She continued bitterly. You didn't come to see us for so many years. Do you know I almost died of poverty? Do you know what it is like to die of poverty? Suyu said shamefully. A lot of things happened in between, so I didn't have time to come here. If you want to hear it, I can tell you now. I don't want to hear it. The tree goddess crossed her arms in front of her chest and raised her head. However, if you want to tell me, I can force myself to listen to it. Suyu smiled and told her everything that happened after he was transferred into the World Annihilation Plate. At first, the tree goddess didn't think much of it. However, as she listened, she was gradually entranced. When she heard about Suyu's dangerous experience, she couldn't help but feel anxious. Especially when he was chased by the evil woman, the tree goddess was even more moved. After hearing this, the tree goddess's face was filled with gentleness. However, she still couldn't put down her pride and said, "Only a ghost will believe you." However, the worry in her eyes couldn't be concealed. I can't stay here for long. Before I leave, I will give you a gift," Suyu said. It was rare that the tree goddess didn't react to the gift. She said, "It's all thanks to you for continuously transferring all sorts of supreme-grade resources into the World Annihilation Plate over the past few years. Right now, the World Annihilation Plate is almost as prosperous as it was when the Nine Dragons' ancient god domain was at its peak." Suyu flashed a faint smile. "This gift is unusual, and it is especially beneficial to you. Where is the King of Darkness?" Suyu asked softly. With a swoosh, King of Darkness appeared without a sound. "Brother Liu, what can I do for you?" the King of Darkness asked. Suyu said, "Can the Emperor-killing sword release Tao Rain continuously?" He wanted to keep the Emperor-killing sword in the World Annihilation Plate forever and release Tao Rain continuously. In this way, even a stupid overlord expert would have the opportunity to condense the Tao Law and become a world emperor. Of course not. The amount of Tao Rain depends on the depth of the Tao Master's comprehension of the sword. This sword had undergone the baptism of comprehension of a certain Tao Master in the Ecliptic Palace. There was originally a lot of Tao Rain, but after it was lost, it released Tao Rain many times. Now there is already an endless amount of Tao Rain left. At most, it can only withstand 10 times the amount of Tao Rain that you had previously, right? Only 10 times? It would be more than enough for one person to use, but it was obviously impossible for everyone to share it. However, it was more than enough for the current Overlord powerhouses. Fine, I'll summon all the Overlord's experts here. Suyu had a thought, and immediately teleported to the side of the Overlords. Many of the Overlords were still in the middle of their training, and they were suddenly captured by Suyu and brought to this place. Their faces were filled with confusion. Half an hour later, more than 100 Overlord-class experts had gathered here. "Let's start," Suyu said. King of Darkness nodded and released the Emperor-killing sword. Instantly, a large amount of Tao Rain fell. This is the Tao Rain, which is for you to condense the rule. If you don't know how to condense it, you can receive the Tao Rain and store it in your inner mansion. You can use it in the future. Hearing it was Suyu's voice, everyone was moved. Then, they sat down with their legs crossed respectfully and received the Tao Rain. After a whole day, the Tao Rain gradually stopped. The person who received the least Tao Rain received 400 to 500 drops, which was 5 times more than what Suyu received in the Dew Empire. The tree goddess, who received the most Tao Rain, monopolized more than 1,000 drops of Tao Rain. Wah ha ha, I'll keep it and sell it to whoever wants it in the future. This is a small amount of money. The tree goddess laughed. It was as if she could already see the scene of countless people kneeling down and offering their life savings to the tree goddess for a drop of Tao rain. However, Su Yu interrupted her mercilessly. You are thinking too much. The Tao rain has a time limit. The longer it is stored, the lower the effect it contains. When a new overlord is born, I'm afraid the Tao rain will become ordinary water. The tree goddess's smile disappeared abruptly. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Let me die. It would be better if you could kill me with a stone called the God Stone. Let me die quickly. In your dreams, Su Yu said impatiently. Then, he looked at the King of Darkness beside him and said, If you don't have anything else to do, could you please give them some pointers in their cultivation in your spare time? The King of Darkness nodded. No problem. I am more and more interested in the faith condensed by your statue. It seems quite profound, and it is worth my time to study it. Su Yu was slightly delighted. With the guidance of a four-crown emperor, he believed their cultivation would be smooth. Are you leaving so soon? The tree goddess was startled. Yes. I still need to go to a place, Su Yu said. The tree goddess wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. In the end, she said goodbye with satisfaction. Take care. As long as he still remembered them, time was just a symbol for them. 10 years was just a moment of secluded cultivation. Okay. Su Yu nodded with a smile and left the world annihilation plate. A month later, in the Acacia civilization, the civilization was in chaos. Since the sacred master Acacia was captured alive, the resistance of the Acacia civilization had been greatly weakened. Su Yu took advantage of the chaos and quickly broke into the holy Acacia palace. He caught a core member of the Acacia civilization who was fleeing and searched his soul. Then, he found out the existence of the inter-civilization transportation portal. Is it under the foot of the holy Acacia palace? Su Yu immediately went underground with Huangfu Liang without hesitation. Deep underground, a hidden interstar zone civilization teleportation array was indeed found. Fortunately, Dongfang Xia was busy capturing the remnants of the Acacia civilization and had no interest in the inter-civilization transportation portal. Open it, Huangfu Liang said. Su Yu waved his hand and turned around. You too, since you have followed me all the way, why don't you come out and meet me? He vaguely sensed that someone had been following him since he arrived at the Acacia civilization. However, it was very vague and he was not sure. Only when they followed Su Yu and Huangfu Liang to the foot of the Acacia civilization did they confirm it. Swish, swish, swish. 2 figures appeared from the side. 6 eyes met and both of them were surprised. It's you. It's you. Not only were the 2 people surprised, but Su Yu was also surprised. The 2 people were none other than Zhan Wushuang and Han Xian. He had never imagined that he would meet them here in such a way. Su Yu! Zhan Wushuang and Han Xian exclaimed in unison. They were as surprised as they could be. Then, they looked at Huangfu Liang beside Su Yu and felt the double-crowned emperor's aura that he released when he was on guard. Their expressions became more solemn. Zhan Wushuang looked at Su Yu with a hint of fear. Su Yu impersonated the 6th prince of the Du Empire, and not only was he not discovered, but he also successfully escaped. What a stroke of luck! Moreover, the person accompanying him was already a double-crowned emperor. Did that mean that his strength had reached the double-crowned emperor's level? Of course, Zhan Wushuang was not interested in a mere double-crowned emperor. With his current combat power, he could completely defeat a double-crowned emperor. If he could find the emperor-killing sword, a triple-crowned emperor would not be a problem. It seems that Brother Su is very fortunate. Even in the great beginning realm, you are doing well. You are always surrounded by powerful people. Zhan Wushuang regained his composure after a brief moment of surprise. Facing Su Yu, there was no longer any fear. In the past, the Tao Tai cage was too small and could not display Zhan Wushuang's true potential. Now, in the great beginning realm, it was time for him to shine. He had the Emperor's four-piece suit, and the old Su Yu was no longer qualified to compete with him. Huang Fu Liang, who was beside him, raised his eyebrows. Powerful person? Is he referring to me? In front of Su Yu, who had easily killed a triple-crowned emperor, Huang Fu Liang did not dare to call himself a powerful person. In the past, he might have been, but now, he was just a nobody. However, Su Yu did not explain. Why should he say anything? Su Yu did not mind his words. It was always gratifying to see an old friend in a foreign land. He stepped forward and smiled. Zhan Wushuang? It is a great fate to meet you here. And me. Han Xian blinked her pretty eyes and said softly. A pair of naturally dumb eyes stared straight at Su Yu, her eyes filled with indescribable joy. And Miss Z. Miss Han Xian. Su Yu smiled at her. Han Xuan's expression stiffened. He used to call her Z Xian. Was she Han Xian now? After all, they had not seen each other for many years. Hello, junior brother Su. Her smile faded a little, and the joy in her heart receded like a tide. Meeting him again after so many years, Han Xian felt relieved. It was like a wish of many years had finally come true. More than once, she had hoped to see Su Yu again. She did not want to do anything else. She just wanted to see with her own eyes whether he was well or not, and whether he hated her for joining the Dakini's side and becoming his enemy. Now that they had met, Su Yu was well, and she no longer cared about the past. She had no more regrets. Su Yu nodded. He was in a hurry to leave and did not have the leisure to chat with her. He said, I will use the intercivilization transportation portal. Where are you going? If it is convenient, I can give you a ride. Zhan Wushuang remembered his purpose and immediately sensed it. He had come here following his senses. He expected that the emperor-killing sword must have fallen into the hands of the double-crowned emperor. However, as soon as he sensed it, Zhan Wushuang was shocked. The scent was actually on Su Yu. Su Yu saw him staring at him with a strange expression. He could not help but ask, Brother Wushuang, why are you looking at me? Do you have something to say? Just say it. Zhan Wushuang stared at Su Yu for a long time. He still could not believe it. May I ask, Brother Su, did you take the emperor-killing sword? Su Yu suddenly remembered that the so-called Emperor four-piece set was prepared for Zhan Wushuang, the destined divine warrior. While he was surprised, he remembered the one he saw at the Wind Cloud Villa. He knew where the scabbard was and could even talk about finding the emperor-killing sword. Now that he thought about it carefully, that Gu Xing was probably Zhan Wushuang. He could not help but be secretly surprised. Is he really the destined divine warrior? If I had not stopped him, the emperor-killing sword would have fallen into his hands. After thinking about it, Su Yu did not deny it. I took it. Zhan Wushuang took a deep breath and suddenly said, Then, the Baiwa sect master is also you? It is me. Su Yu did not deny it either. Zhan Wushuang was stunned for a long time. After a while, his heart was filled with bitterness. No wonder he felt that the Baiwa sect master was troublesome and comparable to Su Yu. It turned out that they were the same person. Looking back, he had taken the emperor-killing sword that belonged to him twice. It could be said that he had defied destiny. But what was the divine path that Su Yu cultivated? It was the defying divine path. Defying heaven, defying destiny, defying all injustice in the world. Chapter 1956. Zhan Wushuang felt helpless. No matter when or where, Su Yu could always show an absolute advantage over him. It was the same even in the vast great beginning realm. It was funny that he had looked down on Su Yu just now. It turned out that Su Yu was way ahead of him. The most ironic thing was that the emperor-killing sword, which should have belonged to him, was now in Su Yu's possession. How could he ask for it now? Junior brother Su Yu, are you that hateful? Oh, that smart Baiwa sect master? Han Xian was surprised. Su Yu nodded and said, "That is me. What can I do for you?" "And you have the emperor-killing sword?" Han Xian said. Su Yu nodded as well. After a moment of silence, he said, "Are you here for the emperor-killing sword?" "Yes," Han Xian said without waiting for Zhan Wushuang to stop her. Su Yu summoned the King of Darkness and said, "Put the emperor-killing sword back into its scabbard." "Has the secret been revealed?" The secret of the emperor-killing sword was hidden when the scabbard was put back into its scabbard. The King of Darkness had recorded the secret when he had obtained the emperor-killing sword. The King of Darkness nodded and flicked his finger. A wave of memory light disappeared between Su Yu's eyebrows. Su Yu wrapped it with his soul and did not open it. He believed that the secret must be shocking and had no time to deal with it. Then, "King of Darkness, please hold the emperor-killing sword." The King of Darkness did not understand. A sword crack appeared on his head and the emperor-killing sword flew out. He held it tightly in his hand. Su Yu took out the royal dragon sword and said, "Hold it tight." He exerted all his strength and slashed the emperor-killing sword with the royal dragon sword. A strong storm swept in all directions from the center of the collision of the two swords. The whole ground trembled, and a large number of stones fell as if it was going to collapse. Zhan Wushuang screamed, "How could you treat the emperor-killing sword like this?" He was heartbroken. That was the legendary emperor-killing sword. Su Yu took it away, but the two swords slashed at each other, which made him angry. When the intense vibration stopped, he looked at the two swords again and found that they were both unscathed. However, the surface of the Royal Authority Dragon Sovereign Sword was calm, while the Emperor-Killing Sword's sword energy was much weaker. The ferocious aura that it usually emitted was completely restrained. Who was superior and who was inferior could be seen with a single glance. "Here." Su Yu tossed the Emperor-Killer sword to Zhan Wushuang casually, as if he was throwing away a useless piece of trash. Firstly, the Emperor-Killer sword had no more Dao Rain to use, and its secret had been discovered, so there was no point in keeping it. Secondly, he could not control the Emperor-Killing sword at all. He would be controlled the moment he touched it. Rather than that, he might as well return it to Zhan Wushuang. Since Su Yu wanted to collect the Emperor's 4-piece set, Su Yu would fulfill his wish. After all, Su Yu did not care about a sword that was inferior to the Royal Dragon Sword. Han Xuan's eyes lit up, and she said happily, "Thank you, junior brother Su Yu. You are really generous." Zhan Wushuang was the only one who couldn't feel happy. He didn't seize this sword himself, but it was given to him by someone he hated to admit defeat. How could he be happy? However, on the surface, he still expressed his gratitude and said, "I will definitely repay your kindness in the future." "All right, this sword is useless to me. Since Brother Wushuang has a use for it, I don't mind giving it to you," Su Yu said. "Let's talk later. Let's leave this place first." Zhan Wushuang shook his head slightly. "I'm sorry, we have other places to go, so we can't go with you for now." "All right, see you later." Su Yu cupped his fists and bade farewell. The brief encounter had stirred Su Yu's emotions slightly. However, after he had completely crystallized the Dragon of Destiny, he had a stronger sense of destiny. His instincts told him that a great danger was approaching, so it was better to leave as soon as possible. Hence, he left the place with Huangfu Liang. Zhan Wushuang left the great hall expressionlessly. Han Xian followed behind him and said, "Senior brother, why didn't you go with Su Yu? Our star stones have been used up." Zhan Wushuang stopped in his tracks and held the Emperor-Killer sword tightly in his hand. "One sword is enough to make me unable to lift my head. Do you want me to continue being unable to lift my head? Senior brother, this is your fault. Junior brother Su Yu is generous, so he gave you the Emperor-Killer sword. Why do you sound resentful?" Han Xian said unhappily. Zhan Wushuang was bitter. How could he not be resentful? The Emperor-Killer sword that belonged to him had all its Dao Rain taken away by Su Yu, and its spirituality had been damaged. Perhaps this was not important. What was important was that it had all happened in front of Han Xian. It had happened in front of the person he least wanted it to happen. "It's my fault, senior brother," Zhan Wushuang said calmly, a sense of competitiveness rising in his heart. Was he, Zhan Wushuang, destined to be Lu Qingqian's stepping stone? No. He was a natural-born emperor, both in the Tao Tai cage and in the great beginning realm. How could Su Yu compare to him when he had seized the four-piece emperor set and achieved the supreme emperor body? After a moment's pause, the two of them rode the meteorite into the boundless void, looking for the next four-piece emperor set. A few days later, a purple ray of light landed on the great hall, crashing directly beneath it. Purple-haired Su Yu appeared and stared at the transportation portal, which had been silent for a long time. He said, "You left pretty fast." Facing the transportation portal, he said without turning his head, "You two have followed me for a long time. It's time for you to show yourselves, right?" Swish. Yun Qianshuang and the young girl appeared in a flash. "Kid, you run pretty fast," Yun Qianshuang said angrily. "Hand over the Path Master's jade bones and I'll let you go. Otherwise, humph." The young girl looked at Su Yu strangely, as if she was thinking about something. "Oh? Two beautiful women. One is still attractive and the other is in her budding years. Not bad, not bad." Purple-haired Su Yu's eyes lit up, and he smiled evilly. "I don't know anything about the Path Master's jade bones, but if you are willing to spend a night with me, I can give you 2 pieces. "Kid, I didn't expect you to be such a pervert," Yun Qianshuang said disappointedly. She had never imagined that Su Yu, who usually looked like a decent person, was such a beast in human clothing. "It's more interesting when a beauty is angry." Purple-haired Su Yu smiled evilly as he looked at the two women's graceful figures, his eyes full of greed and dirty thoughts. "You're asking for a beating." Yun Qianshuang suddenly exploded with the aura of a four-crown emperor, and she said angrily, "Anyone who insults me and my niece will die." However, purple-haired Su Yu did not move an inch. Instead, he smiled evilly. "Competing in aura? I can do that too." Boom! In an instant, the suffocating aura of the five-crown emperor crushed Yun Qianshuang's aura. Yun Qianshuang cried out in shock, "You? How did you get the cultivation level of a five-crown emperor?" Purple-haired Su Yu's smile grew deeper. "I'll tell you in bed tonight." Whoosh! He disappeared into thin air. Yun Qianshuang was shocked, and she crushed an exquisite hairpin without hesitation. At once, a powerful aura circulated, wrapping around the aunt and niece, and then they disappeared without a trace. Purple-haired Su Yu rubbed the tip of his nose with his index finger, and he laughed weirdly. "Two beauties. You are so beautiful, and you know my good-for-nothing body. You'll have to put in some effort to escape from me." After saying this, he disappeared, laughing loudly. At the same time, the Dark Star Civilization, in the sky above the moon-worshipping cult's holy altar. Su Yu and Huang Fu Liang appeared. "What is this place?" The surroundings were pitch black and gloomy, and Huang Fu Liang couldn't adapt to it for a while. "The Dark Star Civilization," Su Yu said casually. "Ah, that ancient four-star civilization, the Dark Star Civilization?" However, Huang Fu Liang knew about this place. He said, "The Dark Star Civilization is the most ancient four-star civilization in the territory of our Taiji sect. Back then, they almost had the right to become a five-star civilization. Fortunately, the king of the Dark Moon race died young, so they failed." "By the way, why did you bring me here?" Huang Fu Liang did not understand. Although the Dark Star Civilization is under the jurisdiction of the Tai Chi faction, because of their seniority, they have never been obedient, and they are extremely hostile toward the Tai Chi faction. The environment here is quite dangerous, and the people of the Tai Chi faction are not too willing to come to such a dangerous place. Was it dangerous? Sort of. The 10 star stones that I know of are in the Dark Star Civilization. Huang Fu Liang's expression was grave. That's troublesome. I heard from the elders in the faction that the Dark Star civilization is full of danger, and the factions are in chaos, especially with the 9 great factions. If we accidentally offend one of the factions, we will have to resign ourselves to fate if we want to leave this place alive. He had a very bad impression of the Dark Star civilization. It was normal for him to be worried after coming here so suddenly. Let's search someone's soul first to confirm our location. This is our first time in the Dark Star civilization, so we have to be careful and start from the beginning. Suyu shook his head lightly. Not for now. Someone has already discovered us. Swish, swish, swish. 6 black-robed figures flew over and surrounded the 2 of them. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the main altar of the moon-worshipping cult, one of the 10 great factions? Are you tired of living? Protector Bai Li, who was the leader, shouted. Huang Fu Liang's heart was in his throat. What he feared had really happened. They were so unlucky to appear in the holy land of one of the 10 great factions? Huang Fu Liang had an urge to curse. Please don't misunderstand, Huang Fu Liang said politely. We just happened to come here using the star stones. We have no ill intentions. Please do us a favor and we will leave immediately. Protector Bai Li sneered. What a joke! Is the moon-worshipping cult a place where you can come and go as you please? Take them all down and interrogate them to find out their origins. Huang Fu Liang complained incessantly. He lowered his voice and asked, How strong is the leader of the moon-worshipping cult? Suyu thought for a moment. Wasn't the leader of the moon-worshipping cult himself? About the same as me, Suyu said casually. Huang Fu Liang's heart sank to the bottom. He might be able to fight the leader of the faction here, but this was the enemy's lair. Everything pointed to disaster. He suddenly felt powerless. He had just escaped from the wolf's den of the sinful lady palace, only to send himself into the tiger's mouth. What a life! Swoosh! Swoosh! A few protectors attacked together. Huang Fu Liang had no choice but to prepare for a fight to the death. However, at that moment Suyu suddenly said, Protector Bai Li, you did well. You will be rewarded with 1/3 of the power of faith of the spiritual pool of faith. Chapter 1957. However, what made Huang Fu Liang petrified was that Guardian Bai Li and the other guardians were all sizing up Suyu with suspicion. You've only been away for a few months and you don't recognize me? He took out a token. It was the token of the Bai Wei sect master. Guardian Bai Li was shocked. Sect master token? You killed the sect master? Suyu was indifferent. You could say that, but that was a few years ago. I've been your sect master for a few years now. A few years? Guardian Bai Li and the others were shocked. Had the Bai Wei sect master died in the past few years? They had long felt that ever since the Bai Wei sect master returned from the Du Empire, he seemed to have changed into a different person. Who would have thought that he had really changed? Alright, let's cut the crap. Follow me to the holy altar if you don't want the King of Darkness to know that I'm back. Guardian Bai Li and the others were startled. They had already found out what happened in the common people's chest. To be precise, there was no need to find out. Countless experts from various factions had come to the Bai Wei sect to seek confirmation. The first to arrive was King of Darkness himself. Like a beast, he searched the souls of the 6 protectors. Then came Hua Hun from the Miaoxiang workshop and the master of the Cold Cloud Temple from the Heartless Taoist Temple. They all came to ask about the Bai Wei sect master. From their mouths, the 6 guardians found out that their sect master was a fake. The fake palace master of the Green Hell Mansion and Master Bao Kuan of the Dustless Moon sect. This news completely overturned their worldview. Then, more news about the common people's chess came. The fake Bai Wei sect master won the common people's chess, angering the King of Darkness and offending many forces in the Dark Star civilization. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was the one who offended the most. They wanted to skin Suyu alive. The entire Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was mobilized to find all news about the fake Baiwe sect master. They looked like an enraged dog. It was said that even the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was alerted. After losing the moon-worshipping sect leader, the reason why moon-worshipping sect was still able to barely stand was because of the Battle of the Common People's Chess. The 10 powers were pretty much all reshuffled. The entire world was in chaos and no one cared about moon-worshipping sect. Among the top 10 forces, 3 of them were forces whose leaders were impersonated. The Pavilion Master of the Fengjian Pavilion, the Sect Master of the Xingqing Sect, and the Feather Emperor of the Heaven Palace were all dead. Yun Qinshuang, the Master of the Misty Mountain Villa, had abandoned her sect and disappeared. Only Hua Hun, Ling Yun, and the Wind Cloud Villa were left. The Dark Star civilization could be described as a mess. Who would have the time to care about the moon-worshipping cult? However, such a scene would not last for long. Soon, other forces would replace the fallen major forces, and in the end, the situation of multiple forces would be restored. Su Yu's words tugged at their heartstrings. King of Darkness personally searched their souls and confirmed that they didn't know about the fake-worshipping moon cult leader's true body. If the moon-worshipping sect master knew that the fake moon-worshipping sect master had returned, how would he treat the moon-worshipping sect? Wouldn't it be reasonable to kill them in a fit of rage? They also wanted to capture the fake moon-worshipping sect master and hand him over to the King of Darkness. However, when they recalled how terrifying the fake moon-worshipping sect master was, and how he was secretly in charge of 3 major forces, they felt a chill in their hearts. They could not muster the slightest will to resist. They returned to the sage temple obediently. After closing the door, Su Yu could guess the current state of the Dark Star civilization without listening. He said, "If you want to leave, leave now. I will not stop you. But if you leave, don't ever come back." Guardian Bai Li and the others did not say a word. Who knew if he was telling the truth or not? "Very well, I am very pleased that you are loyal to the moon-worshipping sect." Su Yu smiled with satisfaction. Guardian Bai Li and the others smiled stiffly. "Then, I can lead you to attack the Holy Mountain and get rid of the fake King of Darkness." Guardian Bai Li and the others were caught off guard by Su Yu's next shocking decision. What? Get rid of the fake King of Darkness? Who was the fake King of Darkness? Although Hua Hun and Ling Yun were there to testify, would they dare to expose the fact that the King of Darkness was a fake? Guardian Bai Li and the others were scared out of their wits. They hurriedly said, "Sect Master, you can't. How can you be so disrespectful to the Sect Master?" Su Yu's face turned cold. "Humph! Were you unwilling to leave the moon-worshipping sect just now? Since you have expressed your loyalty, you are now half-hearted. Do you think that I am a soft-hearted person and easy to bully?" Guardian Bai Li and the others were terrified. After hearing Su Yu's score in the common people's chess, how could they dare to believe that Su Yu was such a person? For a moment they were all trembling. This was a ruthless person who even dared to kill the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce's 5-Crown Emperor Sword Alliance Master. "We dare not," Guardian Bai Li and the others said. "Well, since this is your first offense, I will spare you. If you dare to do it again, humph," Su Yu said coldly. Guardian Bai Li groaned in his heart. He gathered his courage and asked, "May I ask, Sect Master, how should we get rid of the fake King of Darkness? Is there a need to ask?" "Of course it is to gather all the righteous people in the world to get rid of the fake King of Darkness and rid the Dark Star civilization of evil," Su Yu said righteously. "You will be eliminated too, right?" Guardian Bai Li rubbed his nose. The fake moon-worshipping sect master calling on all the righteous people to get rid of the fake King of Darkness sounded like an opera. "Cough cough, sect master, please explain." "You all." Su Yu told them his plan. After experiencing so many twists and turns, Su Yu had long understood that the power of a single person was relatively insignificant. He should build his own power, so that he could break through the limits of the martial path in the shortest time possible and build a strong backing to become an existence that no one would dare to bully. Power. Build a power that belonged solely to Su Yu. The Dark Star civilization was the best choice. As for Xing Yuanxin's warning not to get too close to the moon-worshipping sect master, Su Yu was well aware of that. After building his own power, he would cut off all ties with the path of faith. The meeting is adjourned. Get back to work. Su Yu waved his hand. Also, summon the sect master's wife and Banyue. All the protectors retreated one by one. Yu impersonated the moon-worshipping sect master and took control of the moon-worshipping sect, one of the 10 great forces? Huang Fu Liang, who was listening from the side, was shocked. On second thought, Su Yu had the ability to kill a 3-crown divine warrior. It seemed possible that he could take control of the moon-worshipping sect. However, he did not know that when Su Yu took control of the moon-worshipping sect, he was not even a divine warrior. Su Yu looked at him thoughtfully. Brother Huangfu, do you know about the great formation of the heavenly stars 9 Yin and 9 Yang? Where did you hear about this formation? Huangfu Liang asked in surprise. Su Yu told him about what he had seen and heard at the Wind Cloud Villa. Huangfu Liang was shocked. Impossible. The great formation of the heavenly stars 9 Yin and 9 Yang is only passed down by the faction master and the faction master. Apart from the faction master and the faction master, no one else knows that the first master of the Wind Cloud Villa was proficient in the great formation of the heavenly stars 9 Yin and 9 Yang? Su Yu said, indeed. Tell me more about the great formation of the heavenly stars 9 Yin and 9 Yang. After a long moment of shock, Huangfu Liang finally calmed himself down and told Su Yu about the formation. He was from the Tai Chi faction, so his understanding of the formation was far better than the King of Darkness. Su Yu's eyes shone brightly. At that moment, Princess Rukin and Ba Yu entered, followed by the dead soul worm. Compared to the first time they met, the dead soul worm's youthful appearance seemed to have matured. It seemed like it was developing into a young man. It seemed like Ba Yu's bug-breeding scripture was effective, allowing the dead soul worm to mature. Su Yu nodded with satisfaction. He waved his hand and summoned the Daesun clan's master. When the father and daughter saw each other, they hugged each other and cried. You father and daughter should have a good chat, Su Yu said with a smile. The two of them knew that Su Yu had something to say, so they left the holy palace. When there were only a few of them left, Su Yu stared at Princess Rukin and said calmly, Who am I talking to now? Humph, didn't you already know? Why ask when you already know? It was obviously Princess Linglong who spoke in such a tone. Su Yu said calmly, It seems like the strength of your soul is far stronger than I imagined. It has only been a few months, but you have recovered a little. Isn't it all thanks to you? Princess Linglong said angrily. Tell me, now that you have returned fearlessly, what do you want? To help you get rid of your archenemy, the ice dragon worm. Princess Linglong immediately became serious, her eyes filled with suspicion. Are you sure you can deal with him? I don't believe you. Su Yu said, Believe me, I have a way, but I need you to tell me the many weaknesses of the ice dragon worm. Princess Linglong's eyes flashed. Actually, if you give me the royal dragon sword, I believe I can kill him with a single strike. With her dragon emperor bloodline, Su Yu had no doubt that the royal scepter dragon sword would be able to kill the 4-crowned divine warrior. But you can kill me with a single strike, can't you? Su Yu asked calmly. Princess Linglong's lips twitched, but she did not deny it. Fine, if you want to die, I will tell you some of its weaknesses. Not just its weaknesses, but also its habits, divine techniques, and so on. Try to be as detailed as possible. The group conversed in the Holy Palace for a long time until Princess Linglong's soul withdrew her consciousness, allowing Princess Rukin to take over. Dead soul worm, how's your cultivation? Su Yu looked at the silent dead soul worm with a faint smile. The dead soul worm said proudly, the cultivation of the three-crowned divine warrior. But when it met Su Yu's gaze, the dead soul worm lowered its head again. It had an intuition that it was still a bug that Su Yu could easily crush to death. How's its strength? Such a gifted spiritual worm's strength could not be measured by its cultivation. Probably at the late stage of the three-crowned divine warrior. As expected, its strength was comparable to Lu Wuming's. Fine, you can participate in the annihilation of the fake king of darkness. If you contribute, you will be rewarded with more cultivation resources. The dead soul worm licked its lips. From the initial forced cultivation to the discovery of the amazing results, the dead soul worm had been madly immersed in it. But the consumption of resources was considerable. During the time that Su Yu was not around, the cultivation had come to a halt. It could be said that it was burning with anxiety, and was even more terrified than Guardian by Li and the others. Now that it had received Su Yu's promise, a fierce glint flashed in its eyes. Hee, I will definitely satisfy you, Master. Chapter 1958. 1 month later. The Wind Cloud Villa was as quiet as ever. The huge meteorite floated in the sky alone. In the villa, in front of a pond, Sima Biyun was leaning against a tree vine, lost in thought. She stared at the carefree fish swimming in the water, lost in thought. She did not even notice that a figure had appeared beside her. It was only when the figure walked behind her and the shadow of a knife appeared in the water that Sima Biyun came to her senses. She turned around abruptly and said in shock, Sect Master Baiwe? No, I should call you Su Yu. Su Yu smiled and put his hands behind his back. He did not hide his true appearance. You dared to come back. Sima Biyun's pretty face was filled with deep shock and joy. Su Yu smiled. How could I leave before I achieved my goal? Sima Biyun's eyes were filled with suspicion. She stepped back cautiously and said, Since you have successfully left the Dark Star Civilization, why did you come back? He could have found the 10 star stones by other means. Because it is easier to find star stones here. Su Yu smiled mysteriously. As he extended his palm, a snow-white stone, which was full of cracks, appeared in his palm. Sima Biyun's pupils shrank with just one look. You found it! She could not hide the excitement on her face. She could not help but reach out with her hand, trying to grab it. Su Yu retracted his palm casually and avoided her grasp. He said calmly, Miss Sima, you seem to have forgotten the promise between us. The promise was that Su Yu would help her find the formation stone, and she would give him the 10 star stones. Sima Biyun's eyes flickered. She said, It's not that I can't give you the star stones, but can you wait for a while? How long? Su Yu asked calmly. At least until after the Dark King is dead. Sima Biyun said. Su Yu flipped his palm and put away the formation stone. His face was cold. No need. I don't like dealing with people who go back on their word. Goodbye. The space energy around him fluctuated. Su Yu had given up on the deal. Sima Biyun looked anxious and said hurriedly, Wait. I'll give it to you. That's more like it. Su Yu stopped and waited for her to take out the 10 star stones before he took out the formation stone again. The two sides made a fair exchange. Sima Biyun held the large formation stone in her hands and could not help but laugh loudly. The heavens do not disappoint those who wait. I've finally found the formation stone. Su Yu nodded calmly. If that's the case, then I'll take my leave. Wait! Sima Biyun suddenly called out to Su Yu. What is it? Sima Biyun's face was filled with a hint of mockery. I want to know, how did you fall for the same woman twice? Su Yu's face darkened. What do you mean? Ha ha! Sima Biyun laughed lightly. Lu Wuming silently appeared behind her and released the cultivation of a late-stage 3-crown emperor. Su Yu's eyes shone with a cold light. Do you want to go back on your promise? No. Sima Biyun said indifferently. I didn't go back on my word. It's just that those 10 starstones are actually very useful to me as well. It's related to my overall plan, so I can't give them to you for now. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Wuming attacked with the momentum of a three-crown emperor. Su Yu extended his hand and the two white emperor puppets moved to block him. Haha, Su Yu, I have to say that you're not as smart as you think you are. Do you really think that Lu Wuming is my only trump card? Sima Biyun clapped her hands. With a few swishes, two human beings flew out from the Wind Cloud Villa. Their cultivation levels were at the level of a three-crown emperor. The Dark Star Civilization, a three-crown emperor of a different race, could only be found in one place. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Miss Sima's predictions are accurate. If it's really as you said, if the fake Baiwa sect master returns, he will definitely look for you. A goateed elder with a bean-sized mole at the corner of his lips stroked his beard and smiled. Su Yu was surprised. Sima Biyun had actually used this time to ally with the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? No. It had only been a few months. How could Sima Biyun and the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce trust each other? The formation stone in Sima Biyun's hand was a secret treasure that could not be passed on to outsiders. But she really minded the presence of the people from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Sima Biyun's lips curled into a faint smile. Have you thought it through? Actually, I've been a member of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce for a long time. Su Yu was surprised, but he felt that this was within reason. How could a young lady from the Sima family, who had lost power and no one to rely on, re-enter the Wind Cloud Villa and gain the favor of Lu Wuming? She must have had the support of a powerful force. However, it was inconvenient for the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce to reveal themselves. That was why Sima Biyun had used Su Yu to successfully subdue Lu Wuming and secretly control him. Hearing this news, Su Yu was quite surprised. That means you never intended to give me the Star Stone in the first place? What do you think? Sima Biyun calmly smiled as she retreated, holding the formation stone in her hand. I'll leave Su Yu to you. The two fighters from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce attacked decisively. Without the protection of the puppet, Su Yu fought the two three-crown emperors alone. Haha, in the common people's chess, the fighting power you displayed did not even reach 1,000. It was all because of those tools that you managed to get first place. You don't need to struggle. They coldly said. The higher-ups of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce have already issued a wanted order. As long as we can kill you, we can go to a 5-star civilization's Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce branch to develop. So, do you know what will happen to you? Su Yu decisively activated the space law to retreat. However, just as he was about to activate it, they used the law to interrupt the teleportation, causing him to fall out of the room. His face was filled with uncertainty. Gritting his teeth, he shouted, "Hold on. If I die, I die. But Sima Biyun, can you tell me one thing before I die?" Sima Biyun smiled elegantly. "I am very willing to give alms to someone who is about to die." Actually, you have never thought of avenging your father and grandfather, have you? Su Yu said. Sima Biyun laughed coldly. What do you think? She calmly lifted the formation stone and said with pity, "You probably have your own motives for finding me. You hope that I can use the Heavenly Star 9 Yin and 9 Yang Great Formation to help you get rid of the fake King of Darkness, right?" Su Yu did not deny it. She continued, "It's a pity that I may have to disappoint you. Instead of using the formation stone for revenge, why not use it for something more useful? Because you don't understand. Compared to the Heavenly Star 9 Yin and 9 Yang Great Formation, this formation stone is thousands of times more precious. You have been fooled from the beginning. I did not want to use any great formation. My goal has always been this formation stone." Hearing this, Su Yu completely understood. He had long felt that Sima Biyun could not be trusted. However, he did not expect that her untrustworthiness did not lie in the Great Formation, but in the Formation Stone itself. Chapter 1959. All right, the questions have been answered. Good luck. Sima Biyun chuckled. But Su Yu also smiled. Thank you for telling me. Sima Biyun looked confused, then said, Be careful of this person. Having interacted with him before, Sima Biyun was still very wary of him. She had just warned the people of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce when a cloud of pink mist appeared in front of her. A giant hoof emerged from it and slammed into Sima Biyun's face. Bitch! With a soft hum, the little Kylan appeared from the pink mist. It grabbed the formation stone in her hand and ran back into Su Yu's arms. Catch it! Sima Biyun's expression changed. Su Yu smiled mysteriously. Miss Sima, good luck. Then, the space law swept out, sweeping him and the little Kylan away. The space law was far more powerful than before, so powerful that the 2 three-crown emperors could not stop it in time. He hid his strength. Damn it! The 3 of them were furious and immediately gave chase. But after giving chase, Su Yu was nowhere to be seen. Damn it! All our efforts have been in vain. Sima Biyun was furious. She had planned for so long, but in the end it was all for naught. The formation stone was already in their hands, but in the end activate the intelligence network of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce and set up a trap to find Su Yu. The 2 three-crown emperors were also furious. Throughout the day, they mobilized all their spies to find Su Yu, including the spies in the moon-worshipping sect. But Su Yu seemed to have disappeared from the world. After a fruitless day, the 3 of them returned to the Wind Cloud Villa, their expressions ugly. Su Yu had been tricked once, and he would not be tricked a second time. The formation stone would probably disappear again. How do we explain losing the formation stone to our superiors? That was something the 5-star civilization's branch master personally ordered us to obtain. Now that we've lost it, what should we do? The 2 three-crown emperors looked pained. Only Sima Biyun's eyes shone brightly as she thought about all the scenes from Su Yu's appearance to his departure. For some reason, she recalled Su Yu's mysterious smile before he left, as well as his words of good luck, and felt a sense of foreboding. Based on her understanding of Su Yu, he would not say anything without reason. Could it be that when we were plotting against him, he also set a trap for me? Sima Biyun frowned. Beep beep. The 2 triple-crown emperors received the message at the same time. They had been receiving messages for the entire day, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. They opened it unhurriedly and received the same message. Moreover, there were only 2 words in the message. Run. The 2 triple-crown emperors looked at each other, both seeing the uneasiness in their eyes. The intelligence department of the Chamber of Commerce sent them an urgent message. Sima Biyun craned her neck to take a look, and her expression changed drastically. The unease in her heart instantly turned into a shadow. Let's go. Don't hesitate. Sima Biyun was the first to leave Wind Cloud Villa. She didn't even have time to pack up. The 2 three-crown emperors followed closely behind. The 3 of them ran out of Wind Cloud Heights one after the other. All of them were bewildered. At this moment, the intelligence agency sent another message. Sima Biyun's body trembled, feeling both fear and anger. 2 hours ago, the moon-worshipping cult, the Dustless Moon Sect, the Green Nether Mansion, the Sealed Sword Pavilion, and the Wind Cloud Villa had spread the same explosive news at the same time. The fake Reverence cult leader silently returned to the Darkstar civilization and secretly met with the Windcloud Villa. The second piece of news was that the King of Darkness was actually a fake. The real King of Darkness was in the hands of the fake worshipping moon cult leader. After hearing these 2 pieces of news, the 3 of them were furious. How could the same news suddenly spread without any warning in the territories of the 5 great forces? There was only one explanation. It had been premeditated, and it had been planned at least a month in advance. In other words, Su Yu had been plotting against them before he came. His goal was simple, to lure the King of Darkness here. The King of Darkness must have planted his own spies in the 10 great forces. He would know anything that happened. How could the King of Darkness not know about such a large-scale news? Where did he go as soon as he found out? Of course, it was the Wind Cloud Villa. With the King of Darkness ability, it would only take him a moment to reach the Wind Cloud Villa. After he arrived, no one knew what the King of Darkness would do. He would capture them all and interrogate them. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce did not have the support of the Sword Alliance Master now. Sima Biyun had controlled the King of Darkness' disciple, Lu Wuming. Once the King of Darkness found out, she would not be able to escape death. How could Sima Biyun and the others not be afraid? How could they not be angry? Su Yu. Sima Biyun was furious. She just realized that Su Yu had been guarding against her from the very beginning. Run! The 3 Crown Emperors were terrified. They could no longer care about Su Yu and fled immediately. Bang! However, they had not run for long when they were suddenly hit by some kind of great force. Their bodies flew backward. At the same time, a layer of ice quickly formed on their bodies, freezing them. Sima Biyun's beautiful eyes shrank. She looked up, trembling. A man with a head full of blood was standing leisurely above their heads. King of Darkness! Sima Biyun said in horror. Fu Bingyu looked at her indifferently. Where is Su Yu? Sima Biyun said in a trembling voice. He escaped. Fu Bingyu slowly closed his eyes. When he reappeared, he pointed a finger at Sima Biyun's forehead. Sima Biyun let out a miserable groan as she suffered a destructive soul search. Humph! You conspired with Su Yu to activate the Heavenly Star 9E9 Yang Great Formation to trap me. Your goal was to find the Formation Stone. The purpose of the Formation Stone is... Pow! All of a sudden, Sima Biyun's head and soul were blown into ashes. Fu Bingyu's face was sprayed with blood. He wiped away the remaining blood expressionlessly and said indifferently, Was your soul sealed by the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? Once someone searched someone's soul for a crucial memory, the seal would automatically activate and destroy the soul, preventing the soul from being searched. However, I've got the information I wanted. Fu Bingyu smiled coldly. Su Yu, I couldn't do anything to you when you hid in the extraterrestrial civilization, but you dared to come back. Fine, I'll play with you, Fu Bingyu said coldly. Somewhere, in a mortal city, in a certain restaurant, the dead soul worm was standing respectfully behind a man in a bamboo hat. Prepare for the second step, the man in the bamboo hat said. The voice belonged to Su Yu. Before leaving the moon-worshipping cult, Su Yu had mobilized the power of the moon-worshipping cult and planted a large number of his own people in the 5 great influences of the South. His goal was to spread the news on a large scale. This was just a precaution. If Sima Biyun had fulfilled her promise and activated the formation to kill Fu Bingyu, he wouldn't have needed to spread the news. Unfortunately, Su Yu had not misjudged her. Sima Biyun was not trustworthy. She had hidden herself well, even beyond Su Yu's expectations. Fortunately, he had taken precautions. He believed that Fu Bingyu had already taken care of this woman and the 2 people from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Chapter 1960. Next, the Dark Star Civilization caused an earthquake. The King of Darkness personally appeared in the sacred land of the 8 major forces and bestowed upon them a new leader. The leaders were all holy servants from the sacred mountain. Because of this, many forces that were on the verge of falling apart were reunited. In a sense, they were even more united than before. In the past, the King of Darkness had never participated in the fight between the top 10 forces, so their relationship with the King of Darkness was very shallow. Now, they were directly under the King of Darkness. Many of the higher-ups were overjoyed and immediately pledged their loyalty. Hua Hun and Ling Yun even announced their unconditional submission to the King of Darkness. The restriction on the Wind Cloud Villa's Villa Master's mind was removed by the King of Darkness and he regained control of Wind Cloud Villa. What was most shocking was that the only remaining Triple Crown Emperor of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, as the temporary president, publicly announced that he would temporarily listen to the Dark King's orders. The entire organization of the Dark Star civilization was in Fu Bingyu's hands in an instant. On the surface, there were members of the 10 great influences who were searching for Su Yu and his companions. In the dark, there were the forces of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce who were spying for information. At this moment, Su Yu could be said to have the whole world as his enemy. Once he showed himself once, he would never be able to hide again. This was the power of the Dark King. As long as he wanted, the entire Dark Star civilization could become his eyes, helping him find a single person. In a secret chamber that was thousands of feet underground, Su Yu was receiving messages from all over the place. He then said calmly, "This is the wonderful use of influence." In fact, Su Yu had long had the idea of establishing a faction. Whether it was the Xianyun sect in the Zhenlong continent, or the Jiuzhou continent, or the alliance leader in the Starry Sky celestial territory, the path that Su Yu had taken had always been the path of building his own influence. However, due to various reasons, not long after he established his force, he hurriedly left for other places and never managed it seriously. After coming to the great beginning realm, and feeling the vastness of this world, Su Yu had the intention to establish a force for the first time. With his own power, he could deal with many troublesome matters more effectively. For example, Fu Bingyu had only casually gathered the forces of the Dark Star civilization, and it had created a terrifying force. Therefore, he had more and more plans to establish his own power. He hoped that one day the force he established could become a huge organization similar to the Ecliptic Palace, the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, and the Nirvana Society. However, that was something that would only happen in the distant future. Time ticked by. Many people were searching for Su Yu above ground, while he remained underground as if nothing had happened. For an entire year, he had been cultivating and cultivating. It was as if he had forgotten to get rid of Fu Bingyu. Currently, his main focus was only the demonic sword technique. After a year of comprehension, he had just reached the threshold of the 7th style. This technique was called Bury the Heavens, and it was one of the 3 strongest sword techniques of the Demon Sword Sovereign. Once it was used, it could cause the heavens and earth to collapse. Without the chain of rules, Su Yu could kill a 3-crown divine warrior in the later stage with a single strike of his sword. The power of this sword technique could not be said to be weak. Apart from cultivating his sword techniques, Su Yu's cultivation had also improved slightly. What he said was true. It was only a trace, and it was almost negligible. It was extremely difficult to improve one's cultivation in the sovereign realm of heaven and earth, because there was no longer any gas in the atmosphere that could be converted into desolate force. Normally, sovereigns of heaven and earth would take an extremely long time to absorb the chaos energy bit by bit. It would take thousands of years to successfully advance a level. There were only a few places that could satisfy a martial monarch's rapid cultivation. That was the region of middle-level civilizations and above. There would be special materials there that would be beneficial to the cultivation of kings. Middle-level civilizations referred to 5-star and 6-star civilizations. Therefore, it was urgent to go to a higher-level civilization. After finishing his cultivation, Su Yu muttered to himself for a long time. He flipped his palm and a dark red box appeared. This box came from the Tao Tai cage, the head of a fallen path master. All the purplish-black liquid in the head had been absorbed by the dark red box, and the word demon had been imprinted on Su Yu's palm. According to the information released by the dark red box, Su Yu could only open the red box if he became a high-level deity. At that time, one of Su Yu's wishes would be fulfilled. A high-level deity was a sovereign. Su Yu had always been concerned about this item, and he had wanted to open it more than once. However, it had been a year since he became a sovereign of heaven and earth, and Su Yu had not opened it for a long time. Because after comprehending the fate law, Su Yu suddenly felt the intense danger hidden within this box. He had a feeling that, if he opened it, it would be very, very dangerous. With his current cultivation, it was not the time to open it. Unless his cultivation reached the level of a 5-crown divine warrior, he might be able to try. Suyu put it away and slowly stood up. A year has passed. My preparations should be more or less complete, right? Suyu smiled lightly. Fu Bingyu, it's my turn. At the holy mountain. Fu Bingyu sat alone on the cold throne, constantly receiving information from all over the place, his face as gloomy as water. A bunch of trash. For a whole year, he had mobilized the entire Dark Star civilization to search for Suyu, but it was as if he had disappeared from the world. There was no news at all. Continue to search, dig through the Dark Star civilization, and find him for me. Suddenly, a message from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce came. With a sweep of his soul, the King of Darkness's face hardened, and he immediately flashed to the bottom of the ice valley. There, a huge ice sun continued to emit cold light. It was also a strange object that the King of Darkness trained with all year round. At the moment, inside the ice sun, there was a seal at the level of a 4-crown divine warrior. Even though he had only left for a while, Fu Bingyu still sealed it. It was clear that this object was very important to him. After entering the ice sun, he struck a powerful formation with his palm, and imbued it with the power of desolation. The formation was activated, and he was immediately transported to the Yun Wu Divine Mountain. The news from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was that Suyu had appeared in the northernmost Yun Wu Divine Mountain. Appearing here, Fu Bingyu contacted the local Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Where is he? The intelligence officer of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce shook his head and said, "It's just a rumor. We have verified it. According to eyewitnesses, a silver-haired man who looked like Suyu bought something, and then disappeared." Silver-haired people were not rare, but silver-haired humans were very rare. Moreover, with the similar appearance, it was very likely that it was Suyu. Fu Bingyu came to the place where Suyu had appeared, took a deep breath, and released his powerful soul energy, radiating in all directions. With his powerful scanning power, if Suyu was here, he would definitely be found. However, after 3 days and 3 nights, almost half of the Yun Wu Divine Mountain was searched by Fu Bingyu, but Suyu was not found. Could it be fake news? Fu Bingyu was puzzled and ordered, "I will leave the rest of the search to you, I will come back in 2 days. Sure enough, it was not until 2 days later that Fu Bingyu appeared here to continue the search. However, he found nothing. Did he escape? Fu Bingyu was indignant. Then he returned to the Holy Mountain. Unexpectedly, just as he returned to the Holy Mountain, news of Suyu's sacrifice came from the faraway moon-worshipping cult in the south. Fu Bingyu was surprised. How far apart was the north and south? Suyu had the ability to teleport for a short period of time. However, no matter what, Suyu had appeared, and he had to deal with it personally. 2 days later, Fu Bingyu appeared in the moon-worshipping cult and launched a comprehensive search. After 3 days and 3 nights, he still found nothing. Am I too late? Fu Bingyu was lost in thought, and he returned to the holy mountain expressionlessly. After this news, there was silence for several months, and there was no more news of Suyu. Fu Bingyu could not help but feel vexed. Half a year later, Fu Bingyu suddenly received a message from the Wind Cloud Villa. Suyu had appeared. He tried to break into the Wind Cloud Villa, but was discovered by Lu Wuming and fled on the spot. Without hesitation, Fu Bingyu immediately teleported to the Wind Cloud Villa. At the same time, at the foot of the holy mountain, a small pink Kylin raised its neck and swaggered up the holy mountain. At this time, the holy mountain was deserted, and there were only 2 or 3 holy servants. The small Kylin isolated itself with the power of nothingness, and the few holy servants could not detect its arrival at all. Stinky master, bad master, you made me toil for half a year all the way to this godforsaken holy mountain. D***eminent. The small Kylin stood at the peak of a mountain and looked around. It suddenly discovered a huge ice sun. Master must be talking about this thing. The small Kylan ran down the valley and stood in front of the ice sun. Master said that the reason Fu Bingyu can teleport to any place in the Dark Star civilization is probably because of some powerful spell formation. As long as the spell formation is destroyed, he cannot return to the Holy Mountain. Without the power of ice of the Holy Mountain, Fu Bingyu, the ice dragon worm, will quickly become weak. The small Kylan squatted in front of the ice sun and said to itself, Master said that this spell formation needs 2 days to be activated. Master said, forget it, who cares what he said. I'll just swallow this ice sun and be done with it. It opened its mouth and sucked in fiercely. A huge power of nothingness enveloped the ice sun. Then, it easily swallowed it. Burp. The small Kylan burped. Its little belly was clearly clapping a lot. What is this? I'm so full. A wave of tiredness washed over it. It shook its head and forced itself to stay awake. I can't sleep. I still can't sleep. It staggered back to the peak and walked toward the sacred hall with a dazed look. However, in the depths of the sacred hall, a spacious ice chair appeared before it. I can't take it anymore. I need to sleep for a while. Just for a while. The small Kylan collapsed on the ice chair and slept soundly. Before long, a golden-robed holy servant arrived at the sacred hall on official business. He suddenly saw a beast sleeping on the Dark King's throne and could not help but shriek, "You're looking to die, you beast!" He slammed his palm toward the small Kylan's head. However, before his palm could even touch its body, an invisible sphere 3 meters wide shot out from the surface of the small Kylan's body. The sphere enveloped the holy servant. He did not even have the chance to scream before he was directly turned into a part of the void. A portion of the throne below was also sliced away by the power of nothingness, revealing a smooth hole. At the Wind Cloud Villa, Fu Bingyu was searching for Suyu. The Wind Cloud Villa and the local Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce cooperated in the search. The power of the entire Wind Cloud Villa was mobilized. All living creatures became their eyes. As long as Suyu appeared once, he would never be able to escape again. After a day of fruitless search, Fu Bingyu frowned slightly. Could it be that Suyu disappeared for no reason like the previous 2 times? As a result, amazing news came the next day. Chapter 1961. The martial artist immediately sold the information to the intelligence department of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce and received a generous reward. Hearing the news, Fu Bingyu immediately rushed to the place where Suyu had appeared. Even after half a day, Suyu's remaining scent had not dissipated. It's him! Fu Bingyu was overjoyed. This was the only time he had found traces of Suyu. Suyu, oh Suyu, you can't escape anymore. Fu Bingyu was excited. He had never wanted to kill a junior so badly. Suyu was the only one. He released his senses and searched for Suyu frantically. Half a day passed. Before they could find any news, another piece of good news arrived. Almost at the border of the Wind Cloud Mountain Villa, a martial artist fishing discovered Suyu lurking under the water. He immediately sold the information to the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce and received a generous reward. Fu Bingyu rushed over. Sure enough, Suyu's scent was there. He's getting closer. Fu Bingyu sneered. He believed that he would catch Suyu in less than a day. More and more news came, and the intervals between each became shorter. The distance between them continued to shrink, and shrink again. Finally, on the night of the 3rd day within the borders of the Sealed Sword Pavilion, there was a barren land where many ancient swords were buried. Fu Bingyu appeared and swept his gaze across the area. He laughed mockingly. Ha ha ha! Suyu, weren't you very powerful in the common people's chess? Why are you hiding now? Come out, I've already seen you. With a flick of his finger, an astonishing desolate force transformed into a perfectly straight beam of light, smashing through an inconspicuous mountain range. The mountain exploded, revealing Suyu's figure standing with his hands clasped behind his back. Fu Bingyu was surprised. Oh? You are unharmed. You have many treasures on you. In theory, his attack just now should have caused great harm to Suyu. Sort of, Suyu said calmly. Fu Bingyu's brows furrowed. He felt that something was amiss. It seemed that Suyu was not afraid of him. Do you still have something to rely on? Fu Bingyu asked coldly. Suyu looked at the sky and shook his head. I don't have anything to rely on. I'm just confident in my timing. Opportunity. Fu Bingyu's eyes flickered as if she realized something. You mean, Suyu calmly said, of course, it is the time when the ice dragon worm will gradually weaken after leaving the ice source for 3 days. Now is the 3-day period. I think you will soon fall into a weakened state. Fu Bingyu's pupils shrank and a stern look appeared on his face. Who told you that? He could not help but be shocked. It was one thing for the ice dragon worm's identity to be exposed, but he even knew its weakness. Not everyone knew about this weakness, at least not many people other than the ice dragon insects knew about it. Apart from themselves, there were not many people in the entire Great Beginning Realm who knew this weakness. It's just a guess, Suyu replied calmly. Princess Linglong told him that the weakness of the ice dragon worm was that it could not leave the ice source for too long. But how long was too long? She couldn't say for sure, because different ice dragon worms had different weaknesses. I guess. Fu Bingyu suddenly understood. If that's the case, the Suyu who appeared the previous 2 times was actually an imposter? Are you trying to find out how many days I have to return to the ice source? Suyu nodded with a smile. With Fu Bingyu's determination to kill Suyu, it was impossible for him to return to the Holy Mountain unless his body's condition had reached its limit. Since he had to return, it meant that there was a serious problem with his body, and he had no choice but to return to the ice source to recuperate. Hence, Suyu deduced that Fu Bingyu's limit was 3 days. After 3 days, he had to return to the ice source to absorb the cold energy. This was also why the few times he met Fu Bingyu, he came and went in a hurry. A hint of panic crept up Fu Bingyu's face. He pretended to be calm and let out a cold laugh. You are too full of yourself. If it's 3 days, then why can I stay in the common people chess for more than a month? Suyu laughed. Have you forgotten that I am the chess master of the common people chess? My perception of the environment inside is much stronger than yours. I have clearly felt strong waves of cold energy a few times. If I am not wrong, you must have brought the ice source with you, right? Now, you are just leaving the ice source on the Holy Mountain for the convenience of teleportation. The veins on Fu Bingyu's face twitched like earthworms crawling. So what? Fu Bingyu's murderous intent was incomparably deep. Even if my condition is starting to deteriorate, it is still more than enough to kill you. Die. Fu Bingyu struck out with an incomparably cold chain of rules. The chain was as thick as a calf and contained powerful rules. Suyu smiled indifferently. Behind him, 6 chain of rules, purple, red, white, green, black, and blue, appeared. They entangled with each other, forming a 6-colored chain that was as thick as an arm and as thin as a calf. Fu Bingyu was stunned. 6 chains. You opened all 6 paths and succeeded? He could not believe that there was such a crazy person in the world. Many people who only cultivated one path were unable to open the door of the Emperor and ended up failing. Only a few geniuses could cultivate 2 paths at the same time. It was unheard of to cultivate 6 paths at the same time. What was even more peculiar was that while everyone else's chain of rules was pitch black, Suyu's was actually multicolored. But no matter what, his opponent's cultivation was only at the later stage of the double crown martial emperor. No matter how many rules he had, it would be useless. Die. The rules of both sides collided. As expected, as a middle stage 4 crown martial emperor, he should be able to kill Suyu with a full blow. But the result was that his opponent's rules were indestructible. The 2 chain of rules collided on the spot and were all bounced back. But Suyu's bounced back even faster. Su Yu's body shook and was thrown thousands of miles away. The blood in his body was tumbling, and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. If it had been an early-stage four-crown martial emperor like the Sword Alliance Master, it might have ended in a draw. But Fu Bingyu's cultivation was too powerful. He had suppressed the former King of Darkness and killed the first-generation Master of the Wind Cloud Villa. His combat power was extraordinary. But Su Yu was not in a hurry. The 3-day period was up. He just had to endure it. He retracted the chain and turned to escape. With his current cultivation, he was much faster when using the advanced technique of yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. In the blink of an eye, he had escaped 10 billion miles away. Fu Bingyu hesitated for a moment, then clenched his teeth and chased after him. 2 hours later, he caught up with Su Yu, but he could not do anything to him. It ended with Su Yu being shaken and fleeing. After chasing for half a day, Fu Bingyu's body gradually dimmed, and his breath showed signs of weakening. He stopped in his tracks and looked at Su Yu, who was unharmed. He did not continue chasing. With Su Yu's strange six-colored chain, he could not do anything to him. Instead, he gradually fell into a passive situation. "Oh? Why did you stop chasing?" Su Yu said with a faint smile. Fu Bingyu snorted coldly. "Su Yu, don't be complacent. You have been exposed, and you can't hide anymore. This time I was not prepared enough. When I have a good rest, I will have enough time to kill you. When that time comes, I will let you know what despair is." When he finished speaking, he crushed a small ice sun. A gust of cold air enveloped him. In the past, he should have entered the transportation state immediately. But he remained in the same place for a long time. He crushed another sun, but the result was the same. Fu Bingyu was startled, and a very bad feeling arose in his heart. He stared at Su Yu and asked in disbelief, "What did you do to me?" Su Yu said calmly, "I did not do anything to you, but to the ice source you left in the holy mountain." "What? How could you?" Fu Bingyu stopped abruptly. It had been half a year since Su Yu's last 2 appearances. Half a year was just enough time to cross the grassland that was under the pressure of the holy mountain. Everything was within Su Yu's calculations. After waiting for half a year, his people had arrived at the foot of the holy mountain and deliberately appeared to lure him away from the holy mountain, taking the opportunity to destroy the ice source. But how great was the pressure on the holy mountain? Unless it was the saint's servant who was born and raised here, even the 3-crowned divine warrior could not reach the holy mountain. How could the people he sent reach the holy mountain? Moreover, the ice source was protected by the seal of the 4-crowned divine warrior, and it was a doctrine artifact fairy embryo of the ice dragon clan, far more powerful than any divine weapon. How could his people be destroyed? Suddenly, Fu Bingyu gasped. He suddenly remembered that Su Yu had a little purple Kylin as a pet. That pet had nature-defying nothingness ability. With this ability, there was no need for the pressure of the holy mountain, and it could even destroy the whole doctrine artifact fairy embryo. Fu Bingyu's heart sank. Su Yu actually raided his old nest. Fu Bingyu's whole body trembled, not knowing whether it was from anger or fear. At this moment, his breath was clearly weakening, and a touch of fear welled up in his heart. If he rushed back to the holy mountain immediately, there might still be room for redemption. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ready to escape? Su Yu smiled faintly, his eyes locked onto him. Fu Bingyu's heart was filled with hatred, and he shouted, "Su, it's not over yet. I control all the power of the Dark Star civilization, and if I can't kill you, they can." When he finished speaking, he immediately sent out dozens of jade pendants, issuing a kill order for Su Yu. Su Yu was not afraid, and he said lightly, "Do you think I prepared for a year and a half just to cut off your escape route?" What did he mean? Fu Bingyu did not understand. Not long after he sent out the message, hundreds of messages suddenly appeared at the same time. They were all messages from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, the moon-worshipping cult, the Dustless Moon Clan, and the Green Netherworld Manor, and all of them were saying the same thing. They were besieged by a mysterious force, and the other side had the three-crowned divine warrior, causing them to suffer heavy casualties and retreat. What was more destructive was that they had invited the real King of Darkness. The people of the Three Lands were inspired by the King of Darkness, and many of them took the initiative to surrender. The huge news made Fu Bingyu's heart tremble. Su Yu was going to kill him. Su Yu! Fu Bingyu roared, turned around, and rushed to the battlefield of the Three Lands. He could not let Su Yu win the battle, or the consequences would be unimaginable. "I think you'd better take care of yourself," Su Yu said, and then used the advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole to speed up. He was not too worried about how much damage Fu Bingyu could cause to the Three Lands, because Fu Bingyu had lost the ability to teleport. With his speed, it would take him at least 3 to 5 days to get there. By then, his cultivation would fall drastically. Get ready to feel the despair of life. Fu Bingyu! Su Yu chuckled and chased after him. Chapter 1962. On the first day, Su Yu didn't manage to catch up with Fu Bingyu. His current cultivation base was still at the middle stage of a four-crown martial emperor. Su Yu used the advanced stage of yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole with all his might, but he could only maintain the distance between them. But on the second day, the situation changed. It had already been 4 days since Fu Bingyu had absorbed the cold energy from the ice origin, and his body had started to weaken. Its speed had clearly slowed down, and its current cultivation was roughly at the early stages of the Four-Crown Emperor realm. Su Yu gave it his all and was barely able to widen the distance between them. After the third day, Fu Bingyu had finally arrived at the Green Netherworld Manor. However, the dead soul worm had already received Su Yu's warning in advance, so he had led everyone to hide. Therefore, when Fu Bingyu rushed over, he only saw a few defeated soldiers from the Green Hell Mansion still guarding the empty Green Hell Mansion. As the leaders, the holy servants and the core higher-ups of the Green Hell Mansion either died in the sudden war or surrendered to the dead soul worms. Fu Bingyu had nowhere to vent her anger. She wanted to kill someone, but there was no one to kill. Hatefully, she rushed toward the Dustless Moon sect. The Dustless Moon faction had long been completely occupied by Su Yu's people. They had received Su Yu's order to hide in advance. When Fu Bingyu rushed to the Dustless Moon faction, there was not a single person there. She was so angry that she vented her anger on the Dustless Moon faction, burning it to the ground and destroying it. However, the Dustless Moon faction's belongings had been looted by Su Yu and the dead soul worm. Apart from the buildings, nothing was left of the faction, so it was not a pity to destroy them. Finally, Fu Bingyu rushed to the holy altar of the moon-worshipping cult. The moon-worshipping cult could be said to have been in the hands of Su Yu from the beginning. The higher-ups of the moon-worshipping cult had been ordered to remove all valuable items including the holy altar a few months ago, leaving the holy moon-worshipping cult empty. Fu Bingyu knew that he had been tricked, and in his rage, he destroyed the holy altar of the moon-worshipping cult. Now, 3 of the 10 great factions had fallen into Su Yu's hands. Now, they should immediately head to another region and seek the protection of the factions there so that they could work together to eliminate Su Yu. However, after 4 or 5 days of continuous pursuit, his cultivation had weakened further, now already about to fall below that of a four-crown emperor. His speed had unknowingly slowed down, and he did not realize that Su Yu had already caught up to him. "Where do you want to go?" Su Yu's voice echoed from behind her. Fu Bingyu's face darkened. "Little bastard!" Su Yu's eyes were cold. "You have said this to me many times." 6 colored chains appeared behind him, intertwining as one and sweeping forward. Fu Bingyu was not afraid and used his own chains of law to resist. Bang! The chains of law on both sides were jolted back. Unlike the last time, Su Yu wasn't injured at all, and both of them were evenly matched. Fu Bingyu's pupils constricted. She gritted her teeth and turned to flee. However, He could no longer shake off Su Yu with his speed, and the two of them began a close pursuit, one after the other. However, Fu Bingyu was at an absolute disadvantage, and her aura was getting weaker and weaker. Su Yu was gradually closing the distance between them, and she would often have to rely on counterattacks to widen the distance between them. A day later, the two of them entered the territory of the sword-sealing pavilion. "Everyone, listen up! Kill Su Yu with all your might!" Fu Bingyu shouted as soon as he stepped into the sword-sealing pavilion. However, he was shocked to discover that the sealed sword pavilion was in chaos. A three-crown emperor puppet suddenly charged into the sealed sword pavilion and cooperated with the higher-ups of the sealed sword pavilion who had secretly surrendered, causing the sealed sword pavilion to fall into chaos. In the chaos, the sealed sword pavilion had completely lost the ability to command and dispatch. They were completely powerless to save Fu Bingyu. Fu Bingyu shouted loudly, turning to flee toward the Wind Cloud Villa. The Wind Cloud Villa was guarded by his disciple, Lu Wuming, who was a three-crown emperor at the later stage. It should not be easily conquered, and it should be safe for a short period of time. As expected, Lu Wuming led many strong fighters of the Wind Cloud Villa to rescue Fu Bingyu from afar. "Master, don't be afraid, we are here to save you." Lu Wuming took the lead and charged forward. However, just as he passed by Fu Bingyu, he turned his hand and stabbed Fu Bingyu with his sword. Fu Bingyu was caught off guard and the sword pierced through his chest. A large amount of ice-cold divine blood sprayed out and fell from the sky, turning into ice as it fell. "Lu Wuming, you betrayed me!" Fu Bingyu shouted in disbelief. Suddenly, a man in a black robe walked out from behind Lu Wuming. It was the real King of Darkness. He said calmly, "He has only turned back." After Lu Wuming stabbed Fu Bingyu, he immediately ran behind Su Yu and shouted, "Fu Bingyu, you impersonated the King of Darkness, and your crime is unforgivable. Everyone has the right to kill you. I am ashamed to be your disciple. Today I will draw the line between us." Fu Bingyu was so angry that his breathing became rapid. Lu Wuming was the only person who knew that he was not the real King of Darkness. Now that he saw that Fu Bingyu was not strong enough, he surrendered to the other party and turned against him. Damn it! The entire southern forces had fallen into Su Yu's trap. The only hope was in the north. The north was a place that Su Yu had never set foot in, and his influence in the north was minimal. As for the Holy Mountain, Fu Bingyu did not dare to go there again. With his current cultivation, once he stepped into the grasslands of the Holy Mountain, he would be suppressed. If he slowed down, it would take at least 2 months to return to the Holy Mountain. 2 months' time was more than enough for Su Yu to catch up with him and kill him. Therefore, he could not return to the Holy Mountain, and could only escape to the north. The two of them started the chase again. One day later, in the territory of the Xingqing faction. What shocked Fu Bingyu was that the Xingqing faction had fallen. The entire Xingqing faction had chosen to surrender and follow Su Yu's side. With shock, he fled to the territory of the Heavenly Palace. However, the Heavenly Palace also chose to surrender, and even killed the saint's servant to surrender to the representative sent by Su Yu. How is this possible? Fu Bingyu could not believe it. Su Yu had never set foot in the north. How could they all surrender? Su Yu said lightly, "It's very simple. A senior member of the Xingqing faction was once captured by the Daesun clan in the secret realm. I saved him, so I could contact him and overturn the entire Xingqing faction. As for the Heavenly Palace, you must have forgotten who brutally killed the Heavenly Palace Master, Emperor Yu. It was you. You set me up to kill him." Fu Bingyu shouted angrily. Su Yu shrugged. "But the people of the Heavenly Palace don't think so." Fu Bingyu was shocked and angry, and immediately went to the Yun Wu Divine Mountain, but the Divine Mountain was being attacked by another army led by a three-crown emperor, and they were losing ground. Seeing that it was impossible, Fu Bingyu was forced to flee to the Miaoxiang workshop. Fortunately, the Miaoxiang workshop was not attacked, and she tried her best to protect Fu Bingyu. Mobilize all forces to kill Su Yu, Fu Bingyu said. As long as Su Yu was dead, everything would be solved. Hua Hun sensed the gravity of the situation and nodded. King of Darkness, please rest assured, I swear to protect you with my life. However, as soon as she finished speaking, an ethereal voice descended. Then you can die. Swoosh! A black stream of light pierced through the heavens, shooting towards her from the sky. The power of that stream of light was so strong that even a three-crown emperor would be destroyed in an instant. King of Darkness, save me! Hua Hun's beautiful face changed. Fu Bingyu gritted her teeth and displayed the chain of rules, blocking the blow. At this moment, Hua Hun could not die. The attack had failed, and countless strong men rushed over, forming a wall that surrounded Fu Bingyu and Hua Hun. Fu Bingyu breathed a sigh of relief. He was finally saved, and now he needed a good rest. The power of desolation in his body was scarce, and more seriously, he lacked the supply of ice source. Hua Hun, immediately search for all ice attribute items within the territory. Without ice source, he would make do with ice attribute items. Although the effect was not as good, it could restore the power of a four-crown emperor in the middle stage. At that time, as long as he could maintain his middle stage cultivation for more than 2 days, he was confident he could kill Su Yu. Hua Hun said, "It just so happens that there is an ice mountain in the territory of the wonderful fragrance workshop. The mountain is made of 10,000-year-old black ice, and it might be able to satisfy the King of Darkness." Fu Bingyu was overjoyed. 10,000-year-old black ice? Great, get it quickly. 10,000-year-old black ice was an ice attribute item that was close to the ice source. If there was a whole mountain, it would be a piece of cake to restore it to its peak state. All right, it will only take a day to be transported here, Hua Hun said. She frowned as she gazed at the surrounding defense forces. The only worry is that before the ice mountain is delivered, Su Yu will mobilize his troops to kill us. Fu Bingyu was also a little worried. Su Yu's ability to scheme was too terrifying. Suddenly, Fu Bingyu's heart moved. She took out a jade pendant and ordered the nearby Heartless Taoist temple, all the higher-ups of the temple, immediately head to the wonderful fragrance workshop to protect the King of Darkness. When Ling Yun received the news, he immediately led the 15 double-crown emperors under his command to rush over. At the same time, Su Yu had been attacking for a long time without success. He ordered the troops of the Xingqing faction and the Heavenly Palace to rush over and attack the Yun Wu Divine Mountain. They only had 1 day, and whoever arrived first would decide everything. Time passed, and even Fu Bingyu was getting nervous. He had never thought that one day, the small forces that he used to disdain would be able to decide his fate. Finally, at dusk, Ling Yun led the 15 double-crown emperors to arrive first. Fu Bingyu was greatly relieved. Luck was on his side. At the same time, Hua Hun also moved the ice mountain over. Just as she said, it was indeed a huge black ice mountain. Fu Bingyu could not help but burst into laughter. You guys resist for 3 days. 3 days later, follow me to kill our way out and turn the world upside down, Hua Hun said lightly. With the help of the Heartless Temple Master, no matter how many troops they have, we can still resist for 3 days. The outcome was set. Fu Bingyu said, "Great. After this is done, I will reward you handsomely." As he spoke, Fu Bingyu carried the ice mountain into the secret chamber and began to recover. Hua Hun and Ling Yun were left in charge of defense. "Thank goodness you came, otherwise I really don't know what to do," Hua Hun sighed faintly. Ling Yun said lightly, "What's so difficult about it? The real King of Darkness is back. Why should we be bullied by a fake King of Darkness?" Hua Hun was stunned and came back to his senses. He said in surprise, "Ling Yun, you..." Poof! A long spear pierced through Hua Hun's body, and even his soul was destroyed. At the same time, The 15 Double Crown Emperors that he brought with him suddenly attacked the Double Crown Emperors of the wonderful fragrance workshop beside him without warning. Almost all the Double Crown Emperors were killed by them, and only 1 or 2 were left, but it was not enough to affect the overall situation. Chapter 1963. The corners of Su Yu's mouth curled into a smile. He had not flipped over Ling Yun. It was Ling Yun who had taken the initiative to contact him and was willing to help him. The reason was simple. The Emperor of Yu was his best friend, and he had died tragically under Fu Bingyu's tutelage. He still bore a grudge against him. Now that Fu Bingyu was in trouble, how could he let go of the opportunity to beat him when he was down? The defense of the wonderful fragrance workshop was weakened. Su Yu flew into it immediately and found the furious Fu Bingyu in no time. Before he could refine the ice mountain, an internal conflict had broken out. "It seems like you have lost too many people's trust." Su Yu laughed softly. The 6-colored chain descended with a loud bang, smashing the ice mountain into pieces. "You!" Fu Bingyu felt deep despair and anger. "Are you really going to kill me?" "What do you think?" Su Yu said coldly. He flew over, and the 6-colored chain smashed toward him. At this moment, no one could save him. Fu Bingyu clenched his teeth. A strong will to live burst forth from his despair, and he escaped from the wonderful fragrance workshop. However, in this boundless world, where could he be protected? Fu Bingyu felt like he had no other way out. He wanted to risk his life, but he couldn't do anything to Su Yu. Suddenly, a powerful teleportation force enveloped him. Fu Bingyu subconsciously wanted to resist, but a voice entered his ears through the transmission. "The King of Darkness is in trouble. How can the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce stand by and do nothing? Don't move." The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? Fu Bingyu was overjoyed. With the intelligence network of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, they would definitely know about Fu Bingyu's dangerous situation. They had a common enemy, Su Yu. If Fu Bingyu died, the entire Dark Star civilization would fall into Su Yu's hands. At that time, the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce would no longer have a foothold. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce had made a clear choice. When Su Yu rushed over, Fu Bingyu had already been transported away and disappeared from the spot. Su Yu's expression turned gloomy. All his efforts had gone to waste. Is it the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? Su Yu's eyes were icy cold. Despite all his calculations, he had missed out on the remaining forces of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. The branch of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce should also have powerful magic treasures or arrays that could teleport back to the headquarters in a short period of time. Now they had given Su Yu a great shock at the most crucial moment. "Where is the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce?" Su Yu asked. Ling Yun rushed over and shook his head with a serious look in his eyes. "I don't know. As far as I know, the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce has always been a mysterious place. Other than the people in the headquarters, no one knows where the headquarters is. That would be troublesome. With the power of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, it was only a matter of time before they found enough ice-type items. Once Fu Bingyu was given enough time to stage a comeback, everything he had achieved so far would be reduced to ashes. Find him. Su Yu's eyes were cold. However, the Dark Star civilization was vast. Even Fu Bingyu did not know where their headquarters was, so the chances of finding it in a short amount of time were completely negligible. At this moment, Su Yu hated the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce to the core. He had no intention of becoming enemies with the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, but they wanted to cut off Su Yu's way out. Very soon, under Su Yu's command, the entire Dark Star Civilization's forces began to conduct a carpet search of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. First of all, the branches in various places were all sealed up. A group of people were all arrested. They were tortured and searched for the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. However, there was nothing. The people in the branch didn't even know where the headquarters was. Every time they went to the headquarters to report, they would be directly sent there by the headquarters' powerful array formation. For a moment, the great situation fell into a complete stalemate. At the same time, somewhere deep underground, Fu Bingyu appeared in a huge underground cavern world, which was full of foreign races coming and going. In front of him, a man and a woman were waiting with smiles on their faces. The man was an old man at the level of a three-crown emperor. His name was Li Ming, and he was the only three-crown emperor left in the Dark Star civilization. The Alliance Master had passed away, and the other three-crown emperors had all died tragically. According to the rules of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, he had become the temporary Alliance Master. King of Darkness, I'm sorry we were a little late, Li Ming said with cupped fists. Fu Bingyu's face no longer had the arrogance of the past. He said humbly, I should be the one thanking you. Thanks to your help, I was lucky enough to escape. This was not a lie. His current cultivation had finally fallen from the level of a four-crown emperor to the level of a three-crown emperor. If he had fought with Su Yu just now, even if he didn't die, he would have been seriously injured. Li Ming waved his hand and said, King of Darkness, you don't have to be so courteous. You and I have a common enemy, and now is the time to face a common enemy. King of Darkness, please come. I have prepared 100-million-year-old incredible ice for you. It will be enough for you to successfully recover to your peak state in half a day. 100-million-year-old incredible ice? Fu Bingyu's pupils constricted. This level of incredible ice was probably not inferior to his ice source. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was really powerful. They could even find such shocking, incredible ice. Thank you, Fu Bingyu said with hatred. Don't worry, when my cultivation recovers to its peak state in half a day, I will immediately kill my way back. I will definitely grind that surnamed Su into ashes. Li Ming's eyes were also filled with hatred. He said, King of Darkness, go ahead and kill him. I will also prepare another 100-million-year-old incredible ice for you. Even if there is an accident when you are chasing after Su Yu, you can replenish it on the spot. Fu Bingyu was overjoyed and regained his confidence. He said, Su Yu has chased me to such a sorry state this time. I will definitely make him pay the price. And those who betrayed me, I will make them all die a horrible death. However, before you kill Su Yu, please copy a part of his memory of the common life chess and give it to the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, Li Ming said. The death of the Sword Alliance Master is too strange. We need to know how Su Yu did it. Li Ming nodded slightly and ordered someone to bring the King of Darkness to the secret room to train. He followed closely behind. Before he left, he instructed the lady beside him, Wen Hua, continue to guard the ancient Tianyuan formation. If you need anything, activate it at any time. The lady named Wen Hua nodded solemnly. Alliance Masterly, please don't worry. I will not let you down. This lady was none other than the lady who had been restricted by Su Yu in the common life chess. She had bribed Instructor Li with the massive resources that Su Yu had given her. Only then was she transferred from the Xingqing faction branch to the headquarters. She had also been given a rather lucrative position, guarding the ancient Tianyuan formation. Wen Hua felt guilty about the death of the Sword Alliance Master. Hence, she was very diligent and did not dare to slack off. She had been working for 2 years now, and had not made any mistakes. She had gained Li Ming's trust. When she heard the conversation between Fu Bingyu and Li Ming, her heart thumped wildly. She recalled some things that she had almost forgotten. Su Yu. Apart from her, he was the only one who knew about the death of the Sword Alliance Master. If he was caught by Fu Bingyu and searched his soul, Wen Hua's heart was in a mess. What should I do? What should I do? Suddenly, looking at the formation in front of her, Wen Hua came up with a daring idea. But just as the idea arose, it was extinguished. No, she could not betray the Dark Star civilization. If she was found out, it would be hard for her to die. But did she have a choice now? Killing the Sword Alliance master was already hard enough. In the outside world, Su Yu sat cross-legged in the wonderful fragrance workshop, smelling the fragrant air. His heart was gloomy, and he could not feel the slightest bit of joy. 2 hours passed, and there was no news. He did not know where the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was, and he could not find it. Moreover, he could foresee that as the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, what could he do even if he found it? The level of defense there was not as good as the Holy Mountain, but it was not something that could be breached in a short time. No matter how he thought about it, they were in a hopeless situation. Ling Yun, the puppet, and the 20 to 30 double-crowned divine warriors stood beside Su Yu, their hearts heavy. After a long time, Su Yu said, "Prepare for Fu Bingyu to come out again. Arrange everything to lie low and wait for an opportunity." Su Yu knew that with Fu Bingyu's cautiousness, this opportunity would never appear again. He had already prepared for the worst. But at this moment, Su Yu seemed to feel something. He looked up into the sky, and a beam of light fell straight down, enveloping him and all the double-crowned divine warriors present. Su Yu was stunned. This was the ancient formation that transported Fu Bingyu away. Why did it suddenly descend and want to transport them away? Was it a conspiracy of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? At this moment, a voice entered Su Yu's ears along with the transportation formation. "It's me, I'm Wenhua. Fu Bingyu is here, quickly bring people over to kill him," Wenhua said anxiously. "It's her." Su Yu could not believe that Wenhua was actually at the headquarters and had the authority to use the transportation formation. This was simply a miracle. "Everyone leave." Su Yu waved his hand. In addition to the double-crowned divine warriors, hundreds of single-crowned divine warriors were pulled into the formation. Immediately, the beam of light swept them all away. At the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, Li Ming was leisurely meditating and resting, waiting outside Fu Bingyu's secret room. He felt the continuous release of cold energy, and his heart was at ease. His eyes were filled with hatred. No one has ever been able to come out unscathed after offending the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. This time, I will cut off your path of retreat. Let's see where you can escape. Humph! All of a sudden, a powerful energy fluctuation appeared. Li Ming frowned. Who let Wenhua activate the transportation formation? Could it be that a dangerous branch has been transported back? He appeared at the ancient formation to investigate. In the end, he had just appeared when he was shocked by the hundreds of figures in front of him. Especially the silver-haired youth, who was the most shocked. He lost his voice and screamed, "Ah, why are you all?" Creak. Su Yu's cold eyes swept past. The 6 colored chains wrapped around Li Ming, making him unable to speak. It was this person who had almost caused them to be consigned to eternal damnation. Ling Yun and the others all revealed cold, murderous intents. "Let me kill him." Su Yu waved his hands. "Isn't it easy to kill him? Before he dies, let him lead the way for us." His eyes flickered with a dazzling soul light, and he controlled Li Ming on the spot. Li Ming's eyes were sluggish. He stuttered, "Master! Lead the way." "Yes, master." Li Ming led them to the front of the secret room. The secret room had an exceptionally strong isolation effect. It was impossible to sense what was going on inside from the outside, and it was difficult for those inside to sense what was going on outside. Under Su Yu's control, Li Ming said, "King of Darkness, I have another gift for you." Chapter 1964. Li Ming said, "You'll know once the King of Darkness comes out. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." "Ha ha. Thank you, Alliance Masterly." Fu Bingyu laughed as he opened the door, thinking that Alliance Masterly must have given him a powerful treasure that could speed up his recovery. The door to the secret chamber opened, and what came into view was a black mass of people. Several of them looked very familiar. Slightly stunned, Fu Bingyu fixed his eyes on them and saw Li Ming standing respectfully behind a silver-haired youth. Silver hair. Fu Bingyu's pupils shrank as he fixed his gaze on the silver-haired youth. A face that seemed to be smiling yet not smiling came into view. Su Yu. Fu Bingyu could not believe his eyes. How did Su Yu find the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, and how did he sneak in? Su Yu smiled. Fu Bingyu, I trust you've been well. Fu Bingyu felt a chill run down his spine, his whole body shivering. The greatest despair he had ever felt in his life filled his heart. It's over. But his will to live made him choose to fight to the death. Without hesitation, he waved the chain of rules, releasing a shocking chill that froze the surroundings. Ling Yun and the others turned pale as they retreated in fear. Even though Fu Bingyu's cultivation had fallen to the level of a three-crown emperor, the power of the rules had not weakened much. Su Yu flicked his fingers, and the 6 chain of rules behind him weaved into a giant net, wrapping around the chill to prevent it from harming the others. Go and take control of the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Don't let anyone escape, and don't give them a chance to spread the news, Su Yu said calmly. Ling Yun and the others knew they could not help, so they immediately went to control the rest of the people at the headquarters. Su Yu was left alone. He clenched his fist, and the 6 chains danced wildly toward Fu Bingyu. Fu Bingyu clenched his teeth, using his own chain of rules to resist. But as soon as they exchanged blows, he was swept back by Su Yu's chain and smashed into his body. A large amount of chill leaked out of the chain, a sign that the chain of rules was damaged. Su Yu. Fu Bingyu was full of hatred. What will you gain by killing me? Peace, Su Yu said calmly. With Fu Bingyu's hatred for Su Yu and his greed for the treasures, Su Yu and the people around him would only be safe if he died. Su Yu, we can discuss this, no need. I'll be more at ease if you're dead, Su Yu said coldly. He could probably negotiate with other people, but Fu Bingyu was vicious, cruel, cunning, and treacherous. So, negotiating with such a person would be like cutting off one's own path of retreat. With that, the chains attacked in a frenzy. Fu Bingyu only had the strength to defend himself, but not the strength to fight back. He was forced into a corner with nowhere to run. Although the chains of law were hard, they were unable to withstand the endless attacks, and they continued to shatter at a rate visible to the naked eye. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. Fu Bingyu's aura was getting weaker and weaker, but he still clenched his teeth and held on. Su Yu, it won't be that easy to kill me. Ice Dragon Transformation. He growled, his body suddenly expanding. His clothes were torn to shreds, and he turned into a crystal insect that was several times larger. His entire body exuded an astonishing chill, as if he was an ice sculpture. It lay motionlessly on the ground, incomparably fine runes appearing on the surface of its body. The 6 chains of law only left a shallow white mark on his body. Su Yu's eyes changed slightly. This was the ice dragon worm's ultimate life-saving skill. At a critical moment, it could crystallize into an ice crystal state, which was extremely hard and difficult to destroy. Once it crystallized, although it could not move and had given up on escaping, with the hardness of its crystallized body, it was almost impossible to destroy. Su Yu's 6 paths of law only left a white mark on it. Don't waste your energy, Su Yu. Even a 5-crown divine warrior would find it difficult to kill me after I crystallize. You should just give up, Fu Bingyu said. Su Yu did not say a word. The chains of law continued to attack, but apart from leaving a shallow mark, there was no progress. His heart sank slightly. With his current strength, he should be able to kill Fu Bingyu if he continued to attack for 3 years. However, long-term consumption would cause a serious burden on his body, and it was likely to affect his cultivation level. 3 years it is. Su Yu gently clenched his teeth. If Fu Bingyu did not die, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Thus, a long and drawn-out battle began. 10 days passed. A month passed. Su Yu persisted in his attacks. Whenever he was tired, he would rest on the spot and continue after replenishing his energy. Many affairs of the Dark Star civilization were handled by Huangfu Liang and the others. He also released all the strong men who had reached the level of deities from the World Annihilation Plate. Under Huangfu Liang's arrangements, they were scattered to various parts of the Dark Star civilization to train. With Su Yu's resources alone, they were far from being able to grow quickly. Only danger could speed up their growth. After that, Su Yu moved the rest of the living creatures out of the World Annihilation Plate batch by batch. The Dark Star civilization would be Su Yu's base camp from now on. He needed many trustworthy people to manage it, and they, who came from the World Annihilation Plate, were the most suitable candidate. Once they grew up, they would slowly be able to take up the post. Time passed slowly. 3 months passed. Half a year passed. 1 year passed. 2 years passed. 3 years passed. The Dark Star civilization was changing with each passing day. The 10 great influences of the past no longer existed. In their place was a nameless organization. They controlled the entire territory of the Dark Star civilization. Trade, armies, and high-quality resources were all under their control. No one knew how this organization came to be. The only thing they knew was that the leader of this organization was an extremely powerful and ruthless person. He had once crossed the borders of the 10 great influences and chased the King of Darkness to the ends of the earth. It was said that the King of Darkness had died at his hands. With such a powerful and ruthless person overseeing things, no matter how indignant the natives of the Dark Star civilization were, they dared not resist. Little did they know that the King of Darkness was not dead. To be exact, he was close to death. The enormous crystallized ice worm had been completely penetrated by Su Yu's continuous attacks for 3 years. Fu Bingyu was barely breathing. He had never thought that Su Yu would really spend 3 years to kill him. At the moment, Su Yu was extremely exhausted. 3 years of continuous attacks had greatly weakened his body. The aura of the Double Crown Martial Emperor had dropped to the late stage of the Single Crown Martial Emperor. He would need at least 10 years of rest to recover his primordial qi. The price he had to pay was extremely heavy. But Su Yu felt that it was all worth it. If he let Fu Bingyu go, the price might not be as simple as a drop in his cultivation level. What awaited him would be endless threats and death. "Young one, I admit defeat at your hands," Fu Bingyu said weakly. "But, so what if you win? Born at the end of the era, you and I are nothing more than pitiful worms that are about to be overturned." Hearing the number of the end of the era again, Su Yu calmed down and said lightly, "Then I'll send you on your way first." Fu Bingyu laughed sinisterly. "I'll wait for you down there." Su Yu did not say a word. The 6 chains lashed out one last time. Bang! The crystallized ice worm that had been penetrated was completely smashed into ice crystals. It was completely dead. Su Yu confirmed that its aura had really disappeared from the world. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and fall to the ground weakly. 3 years. It was too tiring. He had never thought that one day he would kill someone for 3 whole years. Fortunately, he had finally succeeded, even though the price was heavy. Dead. Princess Linglong, who had sensed it immediately, rushed over. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Even the 5-crown Martial Emperor would have a headache just looking at the crystallization of the ice worm. Unless it was a matter of life and death, the 5-crown Martial Emperor would never waste time and energy to destroy it. "You are really persistent," Su Yu asked weakly. "Why are you afraid?" Princess Linglong thought about it seriously, nodding. A little. Seeing Su Yu kill someone at all costs, Princess Linglong's heart trembled slightly. It was too crazy, so crazy that she was a little afraid of continuing to be his enemy. "Since you are afraid, then leave Princess Rukun's body obediently," Su Yu said. Princess Linglong pursed her lips. "Give me another 10 years. When I return to the Dragon Clan and find a suitable dragon body, I will return Princess Rookin to you. Su Yu did not force her. In reality, he could not do anything to Princess Linglong. Protect me, Su Yu said, recovering his desolate force on the spot. An hour later, Su Yu recovered to the later stage of the single-crown martial emperor. He could not help but laugh at himself. I spent so much effort to blast open the 6 doors of the emperor, but now I have wasted more than half of it. That might not be the case. Your situation is very special. As long as you find resources that can improve the cultivation of the divine warriors of heaven and earth, it will be easy for you to recover, Princess Linglong said. Strictly speaking, Su Yu's cultivation had not regressed. It could only be said that he had overused his desolate force. As long as he could get some resources, he would be able to recover. Su Yu nodded. Such resources were only available to 5-star civilizations and above. Therefore, he had to make a trip to a 5-star civilization as soon as possible. After leaving the headquarters of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, Huangfu Liang, Lu Wuming, Ling Yun, and the other 3 crown sovereigns were all waiting outside. When they saw Su Yu, they all bowed to him. How is the integration of the forces of the Dark Star Civilization? Su Yu asked. Huangfu Liang said, apart from the sacred mountain, the entire Dark Star Civilization is already under our control. It's a part of our organization. All you need is an order, and we can mobilize the power of the entire Dark Star Civilization. Su Yu cupped his fists and bowed to him. I'm indebted to you for the past 3 years. I'm deeply grateful. Don't say that. It's my duty. Huangfu Liang had experience in managing the Sea of Constellations. Hence, he was able to integrate the Dark Star Civilization smoothly and save Su Yu a lot of trouble. After a short pause, Huangfu Liang asked, "What do you want to name your organization?" Every organization had its own name, such as Nirvana, the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce, and the Ecliptic Palace. Su Yu muttered to himself for a long time, then said, "Cauldron." The change in his life began when the divine 9 dragons cauldron entered his body. Everything began with the cauldron. Today, he would name it after the cauldron. Cauldron? Huangfu Liang was surprised. Just a word? It didn't sound like it had any special meaning. However, since it was Su Yu's decision, he naturally would not object. All right, then I will pass on the name of our organization. On this day, in the remote Dark Star Civilization, a legendary organization that would rewrite the history of the Great Beginning Realm was born. Chapter 1965. Soon, the Dark Star Civilization was settled and the organization was established. As the founder of the Cauldron and the first Cauldron Master, Su Yu announced the appointment of the organization. The King of Darkness became the Deputy Cauldron Master. Lu Wuming, Ling Yun, and the Dead Soul Worm became the Cauldron Masters. Many double-crowned emperors were rewarded as Cauldron Kings, and many meritorious officials were rewarded as Cauldron Ministers. Hundreds of millions of strong men fought to join the Cauldron and became the Cauldron Masses. A super-organization that spanned the entire Dark Star Civilization was born. After the Cauldron was established, the first order it issued was to bring all 3-star civilizations, 2-star civilizations, and 1-star civilizations under its jurisdiction under its rule. All the trade in their civilizations would be monopolized by the Cauldron. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce would no longer be legitimate. At the same time, all the masters of civilizations had to become members of the Cauldron and pledge their loyalty to it. If they did not, it would be an iron-blooded expedition. The Dead Soul Worm, Ling Yun, and Lu Wuming would lead a large number of Cauldron Masters to various civilizations to carry out this mission. Half a year after the instructions were given, Su Yu and Huangfu Liang appeared at the intercivilization transportation portal of the Wind Cloud Villa. The Tai Chi faction has many resources suitable for the divine warriors of heaven and earth. I believe that with your ability, it will be easy for you to obtain resources in the Tai Chi civilization, Huangfu Liang said. Su Yu said, I still need you to recommend me to the Tai Chi faction. Unlike the chaotic Dark Star civilization, the Tai Chi faction was the only faction in the Tai Chi civilization. The faction had been established for hundreds of millions of years and had never recruited disciples from the outside. It was up to the Yin-Yang elders and above to search for disciples. When the disciples reached the Yin-Yang elder level, they were qualified to continue recruiting disciples. Over the years, the Tai Chi faction had millions of disciples. If Suyu wanted to enter the Tai Chi faction and obtain the resources of the divine warriors of heaven and earth, he needed Huang Fuliang's recommendation. He was a core disciple, not a Yin-Yang elder. However, his uncle was an elder who was qualified to recruit disciples. If Huang Fuliang recommended Suyu to his uncle, it would not be difficult for him to enter the Tai Chi faction. That's easy. Huang Fuliang was eager. He had been waiting for the moment to return to the faction for a long time. Alas, the heavens did not grant him his wish. It was as though he had been forgotten in the sea of constellations. Every message he sent to the chiefs was like a pebble thrown into the ocean, with no response whatsoever. Now, thanks to Suyu, they were able to gather 10 star stones and activate the intercivilization transportation portal of the 5-star civilization ahead. Have you taken care of everything regarding the Dark Star civilization? Huang Fuliang stepped onto the array formation and said solemnly, after going to the Taiji sect, it will not be easy to come back. Even with your ability, you will need 10 years to obtain another 10 star stones. Suyu looked toward the holy mountain. He had already made arrangements for the Cauldron organization. Only the little Kylan did not return after going to the sacred mountain. He wanted to explore it, but with the immense pressure of the sacred mountain, it was impossible for him to ascend it with his current cultivation. Luckily, based on their connection, the little Kylan was still alive. It was just that he did not know what kind of state it had fallen into, as it did not respond to his call. After confirming that his life was not in danger for the time being, Suyu stepped onto the intercivilization transportation portal and carried out a long-distance transmission. An intense twisting sensation assaulted Suyu's senses, causing him to have a splitting headache. He felt like his whole body was being torn apart. This was the negative effect of ultra-long-distance intercivilization teleportation. Suyu didn't know how long he had been in this state, but he was still in a daze. Even when his feet touched the ground, he still felt dizzy. Huang Fuliang, on the other hand, was more used to it. He breathed in the air excitedly and said, "We are finally back." The Tai Chi faction. When Suyu had adapted to it, he found himself in an environment that was terrifyingly rich with yin and yang energy. A gentle breath was 1/10 of the total yin and yang energy in his body. If he used the yin and yang energy here to display the yin-yang wings, it was hard to imagine how far the yin-yang wings could travel in an instant. "Let's go, I'll take you to see my uncle." Huang Fuliang was very excited. His respect for his uncle could be seen from his words. He had been away from home for tens of thousands of years, but the first person he missed when he returned was his uncle. "My uncle is a generous man, and he thinks highly of me. It was because of his promotion that I became a core disciple. After so many years, I wonder if he is doing well," Huang Fuliang mumbled as he walked. Suyu smiled gently. Everyone had a root in their heart, just like how he often missed Shenyue Island. The Tai Chi faction was the root in Huang Fuliang's heart that could not be erased. Now that he was back home, it would be strange if he was not happy. He would only be happier when he saw his uncle later. The overall outline of a 5-star civilization was a Tai Chi yin-yang fish eye diagram. The Tai Chi faction was located in the center of the yin-yang diagram. It was a city that spanned across boundless territories, and millions of Tai Chi faction disciples were gathered there. His uncle Yingfengxiu was in Tai Chi City. Although he had been away for many years, Huang Fuliang had found his uncle's mansion with his unforgettable memories, an extremely luxurious mansion. Standing at the entrance of the mansion, he could not see the end of the courtyard walls. Outside the courtyard walls stood 100 strong Emperor Realm martial artists with single crowns. They wore the same uniform and held top-grade true Emperor divine weapons in their hands. Their gazes were intimidating, giving people great pressure. The guards in front of him alone were comparable to the total number of Emperor Realm martial artists in the entire Dark Star civilization. As expected of an elder of the Tai Chi faction, he was too imposing. Huang Fu Liang walked forward and took out his identity nameplate respectfully. Disciple Huang Fu Liang wishes to see uncle. There was a butler at the entrance of the mansion who was responsible for receiving guests. Upon hearing that Huang Fu Liang was a disciple, he smiled. "Which faction are you from?" "I am under Spiritual Master Huang Yu." "Spiritual Master Huang Yu." The butler's eyes became calmer. He took out a book and flipped through it casually. Spiritual Master Huang Yu's name appeared. There were over 1,000 names under his name. They were all disciples that Spiritual Master Huang Yu had taken in. After looking through it, the butler's gaze became slightly unfriendly. "Why isn't your name in Spiritual Master Huang Yu's disciple list?" Huang Fu Liang, who was thinking about what to say to his uncle, was instantly stunned. "I'm Spiritual Master Huang Yu's 109th personal disciple, as well as the 1300th generation core disciple of the Tai Chi faction. Why isn't my name there?" Seeing that Huang Fu Liang did not seem to be lying, the butler flipped through it again, but Huang Fu Liang's name was still not there. He frowned. "Did you make a mistake?" Spiritual Master Huang Yu's 109th personal disciple is a disciple called Yang Hua. He has already joined Eldering. Your name isn't in Spiritual Master Huang Yu's 1,000 disciples. Huang Fu Liang could not believe it. How could this be? Even if he had been gone for hundreds of thousands of years, he should not have no name. "Butler, please help me inform Elder Ing that Huang Fu Liang is here to pay a visit. He will definitely remember me," Huang Fu Liang pleaded. The butler glared. "Elder Ing, do you think a nobody like you can meet him just because you want to?" Huang Fu Liang was anxious. He clenched his teeth, took out 10 commodity divine stones, and stuffed them into the butler's pocket along with his identity nameplate. "Butler, please do me a favor." Only then did the butler regain his composure. He rolled his eyes and stood up unhurriedly. "Wait here quietly." Not long after, the butler returned expressionlessly. He looked at Huang Fu Liang with a strange gaze. "Yes, Elder Ing has just finished his training. Come over." Huang Fu Liang heaved a sigh of relief, revealing a smile. "I knew it. Uncle Ing would not forget me. Back then, it was because of his careful guidance that I became who I am today." Huang Fu Liang was extremely grateful for Uncle Ying's kindness. The butler did not say a word. He brought Huang Fu Liang and Su Yu to the back garden of the mansion. In the garden, a white-robed elder with a goatee was giving guidance to a handsome young man with a benevolent expression. The former's cultivation level was at the terrifying 4-crown divine warrior level. The latter was also at the peak of the 3-crown divine warrior level. "Elder Ing, I have brought him here." The elder with a goatee acted as if he did not hear him, continuing to guide the young man in his training. Huang Fu Liang looked at the elder with a goatee emotionally. He knelt on the ground with a thud, deeply kowtowing 3 times. His face was covered in tears. He did not disturb the elder with a goatee, even though the elder did not care about him. An hour later, the elder with a goatee patted the young man's shoulder lovingly. "Yang Hua, today's training ends here. Go and rest." "Yes, master." Yang Hua cupped his fists and smiled, brushing past Huang Fu Liang. The moment he brushed past Huang Fu Liang's shoulder, a sliver of disdain appeared on his face. At this moment, the elder with a goatee turned around and looked at Huang Fu Liang. He calmly said, "You're back. Disciple Huang Fu Liang greets Uncle Ing." He smiled at Yang Hua, indifferently saying, "Yes, it has been hard on you all these years." "It has not been hard on me." Huang Fu Liang's eyes were filled with tears. "Uncle Ing, I have been sending you information about the Sea of Constellations for many years. Have you received it?" Why was there no response from him? No. Elder Ing shook his head indifferently. But in Su Yu's ears, he could clearly hear another voice in Elder Ying's heart. In fact, he had received it, but he had never looked through it, carelessly throwing it away. That was information that Huang Fu Liang had exchanged for with his safety. Could there be a problem with the transportation? Huang Fu Liang muttered to himself. But it does not matter. I will now briefly explain to you the clues I have gathered in the Sea of Constellations. There is no need. Elder Ing calmly looked at him. Why did you come back? Did you not understand my intentions when I chased you to the Sea of Constellations back then? How stupid! Huang Fu Liang's expression stiffened. Chased? It was clearly Elder Ing who had entrusted him with such an important task. Forget it. Since you were lucky enough to come back alive, I will tell you. Your talent is too poor to be my disciple, so I sent you on a mission that you would never return from. I then used your quota to take in more disciples. Do you understand? Huang Fu Liang's expression froze. Every elder could only take in a limited number of disciples. There was only one way to take in more than one disciple, and that was to inherit the deceased elder's disciple. Before Reverend Huang Yu died, he had entrusted his disciple to Ing Fengshao. Ing Fengshao had guided Huang Fu Liang for a period of time and discovered that his talent did not meet the requirement. However, he did not want to give up on this quota. So, he had Huang Fu Liang head to the faraway Sea of Constellations and then choose an outstanding disciple to take Huang Fu Liang's quota. The outstanding genius Yang Hua was the one to take the quota. After learning the truth, Huang Fu Liang's mind went blank. Chapter 1966. The so-called important position, the so-called assessment, were all wishful thinking? He had a brief moment of doubt as to why there was no news from the sect for a long time. However, he instinctively guessed that something had happened to his uncle master, or something had happened to the sect. Deceiving himself and others, he stayed in that desolate, barren land for countless years. In the end, the moment the truth was revealed, it was so cruel. His faith collapsed with a loud bang. He stood there blankly, not knowing what to say or do. He was in a daze like a puppet. Since you've worked hard, even if you don't have any meritorious service, you can return to the Supreme Ultimate Sect. However, the number of disciples I can recruit is already full. You can only be a servant of the mansion. What do you think? Ing Fengshao pondered for a while and said helplessly. His tone sounded like he was giving alms. However, the title of Taiji sect disciple originally belonged to Huang Fu Liang. Now, only the servants were left. This wasn't even as good as charity, it was clearly robbery. Huang Fu Liang came back to his senses, feeling humiliated and resentful. He wanted to refute, but he realized that Su Yu was beside him, so he fell silent. After remaining silent for a long time, he shook his head and said, "Disciple, I've been away from the Taiji sect for too long. I can no longer be considered a disciple of the Taiji sect. If Elder Ing is interested, could you recommend this friend of mine to an elder? He hasn't even cultivated for 100 years, but he's already a double." Suddenly, Su Yu patted his shoulder and interrupted him. "Brother Huang Fu, you are confused. I came to the Tai Chi faction on a mission, not to join the Tai Chi faction." Huang Fu Liang was stunned. He immediately realized that Su Yu had changed his mind at the last minute, so he shut his mouth. Ing Fengshao looked at Su Yu. He swept his gaze over Su Yu, who was a later-stage single-crown divine warrior, and his eyes lit up. If he really had cultivated for less than 100 years and had such a terrifying cultivation, then his cultivation speed could be said to be shocking, and his aptitude was not bad. However, the other party had no intention of joining the Tai Chi sect. Would he, a dignified Yin-Yang elder, take the initiative to beg him? Then go to the butler and get some divine stones. Smiling in the wind waved his hand and sent Huang Fu Liang away. He took in Huang Fu Liang out of goodwill, but the other party did not appreciate it. Huang Fu Liang no longer held any hope for Windward Smile. He said indifferently, "There's no need for the divine stones. I must have misunderstood something all these years. Farewell." He stood up weakly and left the mansion with Su Yu. Along the way, he felt that his head was heavy and his feet were light. He was completely following Su Yu and had lost the ability to think. "Brother Huangfu, how much longer are you going to immerse yourself in it? Or do you want to recover like a woman who needs someone to comfort her?" Su Yu's mocking voice suddenly rang in Huang Fuliang's ears, waking him up with a start. He discovered that he had already left the mansion and was surrounded by a vast crowd. "Sorry, I lost my composure." Huang Fuliang became more spirited and said, "I've let you see a joke. I haven't fulfilled my promise, so I can't let you enter the Taiji sect." Back then, he had confidently handed his identity nameplate to Su Yu so that Su Yu could come to the Tai Chi faction to look for his uncle. Then, he would surely be able to join the Tai Chi faction. Now that he thought about it, it was fortunate that Su Yu had not come. Otherwise, he would not even have been able to enter his uncle's mansion. Actually, you only showed the late stage of the single crown warrior realm, and he was a bit moved. If he knew that your real cultivation base was the late stage of the double crown warrior realm, I'm afraid he would treat you like that disciple named Yang Hua and train you. Unfortunately, you interrupted me and didn't let me continue. Huang Fuliang was a bit regretful. Su Yu calmly said, "If he really wants to, then it will be troublesome." "Why?" Huang Fuliang asked in surprise. Su Yu said, "With your example, what makes this person worthy of being my teacher? If one day, an even more powerful heaven ruler appears, will I also be removed from the list and banished to a faraway place?" Huang Fuliang was relieved. With Su Yu's character, it was indeed difficult for him to lower his head and acknowledge Ying Fengxiu as his teacher. Moreover, why must the men of the world be below others? Since we're in the 5-star city, let's explore the world by ourselves. Why should we worry about not having the resources of the martial emperors? Su Yu did not have a strong desire to join the Tai Chi faction. It would be great if he could join, but if he couldn't, he was confident that he would be able to establish himself here. Huang Fuliang stared at Su Yu, feeling encouraged. He was a man who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, but his ambition was not as good as that of a young boy like Su Yu. Indeed, the world was vast and mighty. Did he really have to join the Tai Chi faction to achieve anything? When he had traveled to the Sea of Constellations, he had only been a small single crown warrior. He had survived such a harsh environment and become a double crown warrior. Now that he had returned to the favorable environment of the 5-star city, why should he worry about not being able to achieve great things? Thinking of this, his depressed mood eased a lot and he forced a smile. Yes, in this world, why should we draw a prison for ourselves? Without Ying Fengxiu, would Huang Fuliang have been mediocre all his life? Huang Fuliang patted Su Yu's shoulder. "That's why I've decided to follow you." Su Yu rolled his eyes. What happened to his courage just now? Looking at the vast crowd, Su Yu thought carefully. Then let's find a place to discuss this. Let's see how we can find the resources of the martial emperors in the future. Huang Fuliang said, "There's a winery called Yunxiang House nearby. It produces all kinds of famous wines. Why don't we go in and have a seat?" Sure. Yunxiang House's business was booming. Countless strong men came and went, including the martial emperors of the world. Martial emperors, who were rare in the 4-star city, could be found everywhere in the 5-star city. They were all here for the famous wine of Fragrant Cloud House. Su Yu and Huang Fu Liang finally found an empty table on the third floor. I didn't expect Yunxiang House to still exist after so many years. Moreover, business is booming as usual, Huang Fu Liang said with nostalgia. He picked up the wine list and said, I know Brother Su has a lot of experience in your life, and there are many things that you don't care about. However, Fragrant Cloud House has a special wine that you have never tasted before. At the level of the martial emperors of heaven and earth, they rarely consumed food. The desolate energy in their bodies was enough to satisfy all their need. Huang Fu Liang said it so mysteriously. So you really wanted to try it? What's so special about it? Of course, Huang Fu Liang said. This wine is called Pure Yang. It is a divine wine brewed by Yunxiang House using the sun, moon, and stars in the void. It is also one of the few wines that can replenish one's desolate energy after drinking it. For Brother Su, whose cultivation level has fallen, the effects of this wine can be imagined. If you consume it for a long period of time, your cultivation level will definitely recover in less than 3 years. Su Yu was surprised. 3 years? But this wine is too expensive. I don't have much money, so I can only treat Brother Su to a drop. Huang Fu Liang looked embarrassed. A drop of wine? Isn't this too stingy? As if he understood Su Yu's meaning, Huang Fu Liang's face turned red. Brother Su, don't doubt me. This wine is measured in drop. A drop of wine costs 30 million divine stones. 30 million? Su Yu could not help but click his tongue. Many double-crown divine warriors only had 10 million divine stones in their lifetime savings. Even triple-crown divine warriors, such as the Baihui sect master, only had 100 million divine stones. However, Su Yu had killed countless enemies on the Dark Star. The number of divine stones he had seized was astronomical, at least 10 billion. Especially the storage space of the Sword Alliance Master, which contained the savings of the entire Dark Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce over the years. He could still afford a few drops of wine. 2 drops of pure yang. Huang Fu Liang reluctantly ordered the wine. The maidservant smiled sweetly. She looked at Huang Fu Liang with a burning gaze. All right, sir. I will place the order for you. To be able to afford such wine, he must be a disciple of the Tai Chi faction. Holding the menu, the maidservant quickly went to the counter to request for 2 drops of pure yang wine. Standing at the counter was a triple-crown divine warrior. He was the nephew of the Yunxiang House Master. He was under 30 years old and looked serious. The shopkeeper took out a sealed space storage device. It was sealed with the special seal of the 4-crown divine warrior. He had to personally remove the seal to retrieve the 2 drops of pure yang divine wine. 2 customers, 60 million divine stones, the shopkeeper said calmly. He looked at the 2 of them. From their clothes and the yin and yang energies in their bodies, they were not disciples of the Tai Chi faction. Hence, there was no need to be too polite. Su Yu shook his head slightly. This person's attitude was not bad, but it was not polite. However, this was not important. Huang Fu Liang did not say anything. He took out 2 bags, each filled with 30 million divine stones. The shopkeeper checked them and confirmed that there were no mistakes. He removed the seal on the storage device and took the bags. Haha, Brother Su, have a taste of this wine. Huang Fu Liang opened the storage device and took out a precious crystal pot. There were 2 drops of black and white liquid lying quietly inside. They were the so-called pure yang. Su Yu could feel that the crystal pot was filled with primordial energy. He could not help but take a closer look. Gathering the sun, moon, and stars to brew sounded incredible. At that moment, 2 more people walked into the Yunxiang house. They were dressed in the uniform of the Tai Chi faction and looked dignified. They were immediately noticed as soon as they entered, and they all looked at them with envy. Compared to the entire 5-star empire, the disciples of the Tai Chi faction were rare existences. Their status was extraordinary. The usually serious shopkeeper could not help but be moved. He smiled warmly and went forward to welcome them. What brings Mr. Yang Hua and Fairy Inu here? The former was the famous disciple of the famous elder Yingfengxiu. He had recently broken through to the later stage of the three-crown divine warrior, and was quite famous. The latter was the rising star of the Tai Chi faction. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also talented in cultivation. She had reached the later stage of the two-crown divine warrior. She had many suitors, and Yang Hua was one of them. Give me 2 drops of pure yang. Let Inu have a taste, Yang Hua said with a smile. The shopkeeper's face stiffened. He said apologetically, Mr. Yang Hua, we only provide 2 drops of pure yang every day. They have been sold out today. Do you? Yang Hua still had a smile on her face, but her gaze toward the shopkeeper was much colder. The shopkeeper shuddered. The Yunxiang house had been stable for many years. They did not fear Yang Hua, who was a three-crown divine warrior. But 99% of Yunxiang house's pure yang was bought by the disciples of the Tai Chi faction. If Yang Hua said a few words about the Yunxiang house, it would affect the sales of pure yang. I'll think of a way. The shopkeeper's mind was racing. He glanced at Su Yu's table. Realizing that their pure yang had not been opened, he immediately walked over and grabbed the crystal pot. He said expressionlessly, Someone else wants pure yang. Come back another day. Compared to the disciples of the Tai Chi faction, the consequences of offending them were much lighter. Moreover, they might not dare to seek revenge on the Yunxiang house. Huang Fu Liang could not help but be angry. They had paid and were about to drink, but the shopkeeper had snatched it from their hands. That was fine, but he still had a cold expression, as if they had done something wrong. Wait! How could Huang Fu Liang swallow his anger? The shopkeeper's gaze turned cold. What do you want? Huang Fu Liang was about to explode in anger, but Su Yu pressed on his shoulder. Don't be impatient. It was their first time here. It was better not to offend anyone. Huang Fu Liang clenched his teeth and remained silent. Humph! The shopkeeper snorted coldly, turning to leave. You can take the wine back, but return our money as well, Su Yu said calmly. The shopkeeper turned his head and looked at Su Yu. He then said coldly, I have already said that you can come back tomorrow to drink. I have already taken the money, so there is no reason for me to return it. So, was it reasonable to take back their wine? That was 60 million. It was not a small sum to anyone. Don't go too far with the Yunxiang house. Huang Fu Liang slammed the table and stood up, startling the entire restaurant. The shopkeeper's expression turned cold. He lowered his voice and threatened, Try shouting again. I won't let you walk out of the Yunxiang house. The aura of the three-crown divine warrior was released, enveloping Su Yu and Huang Fu Liang. Su Yu was fine, but Huang Fu Liang's body swayed under the pressure of the aura. He sat down again. Don't act rashly. Su Yu pulled him back to his seat. My friend was rude. Goodbye. Holding Huang Fu Liang's hand, Su Yu left the table calmly. What the hell? The shopkeeper snorted, then raised his voice and said, These 2 guests are just messing around. We don't have to lower ourselves to their level. Only then did the customers look away. Huang Fu Liang felt like he was about to explode. It was the Yunxiang house who had humiliated them. They had lost 60 million divine stones, and now they were the ones messing around? However, what was more infuriating was that when he passed by Yang Hua, he ignored him and said to Fairy Inu behind him, The wine is here. Let's have a taste. Fairy Inu saw with her own eyes where the 2 drops of wine came from. She shook her head lightly. Forget it. It's just drinking wine. Why do you have to bully ordinary people? Haha, how is this bullying? Pure yang is not something that can be drunk with money. Only people of status like you and me deserve to drink it. Giving it to an unknown person is just a waste of God's gift. Huang Fu Liang stopped in his tracks. He understood what Yang Hua was implying. Was he implying that his background was unknown? Others might not know, but Yang Hua himself knew where he got the quota to become Ing Fengxiao's disciple. This was too much. However, Su Yu did not say a word. He pulled him away and did not give him a chance to vent his anger. Su Yu only let go of him when they were far away from the Yunxiang house. "Brother Su, let's part ways here. You will only be humiliated if you follow me." Huang Fu Liang seemed to have given up on himself. He had been encouraged by Su Yu and had planned to go all out. However, the bullying from the Yunxiang house had made him feel that he was just a useless nobody. Achieving anything? Dream on. "So, we are going to return our humiliation now," Su Yu said calmly. "If you don't want to go, forget it." Huang Fu Liang was moved. "Brother Su, are you going to take revenge?" Chapter 1967. "Of course," Su Yu said matter-of-factly. "There was never a time when he did not seek revenge." "Then why did you stop me just now?" "I was going to teach Yunxiang House a lesson, even if it meant risking everything." "So that's all you want to do?" Su Yu asked. "I humiliated you like that, and all I did was vent my anger in front of you and smash a few chairs and tables? That's not even a fraction of your 60 million divine stones. Brother Su, what do you plan to do?" Huang Fu Liang knew that Su Yu would not do anything petty if he did. "I'm going to tear down Yunxiang House, of course. It's better to shut down a restaurant that humiliates its customers like this," Su Yu said calmly. Huang Fu Liang took a light breath. "Brother Su, you may not know this, but the master of Yunxiang House is a four-crown divine warrior and is on good terms with some of the Yinyang elders of the Tai Chi faction. It won't be easy to tear down Yunxiang House." Su Yu shrugged, not taking it seriously. "Moreover," Huang Fu Liang added, "with Yunxiang House's reputation, it's only a matter of time before the restaurant is torn down and rebuilt. The most important thing for Yunxiang House now was not its shop, but its reputation. Destroying the shop would only hurt Yunxiang House a little. It wouldn't take long, and it wouldn't take many divine stones to rebuild it. Since it's been torn down, I won't give it a chance to rebuild," Su Yu said calmly, walking back with his hands behind his back. Huang Fu Liang was surprised. Where did Su Yu's confidence come from? He had just arrived and didn't know any powerful people who would help him tear down Yunxiang House. He followed Su Yu skeptically. After a round, they came to an ordinary restaurant not far from Yunxiang House. They found a table on the second floor by the window, ordered a few dishes, and ate slowly. At the same time, Yunxiang House, Yang Hua and Fairy Inu occupied the empty table. "Perfect, we even saved the table," Yang Hua said with a smile. He had no sympathy for Huang Fu Liang. He shouldn't be blamed for taking everything he had. He should blame himself for not being able to hold on to what belonged to him. The young shopkeeper put down the wine pot with a smile. "Please enjoy." Then, he smiled and retreated. Yang Hua took a whiff of the fragrant pure yang wine and praised, as expected of the famous pure yang wine. "Fragrant Cloud House only produces 4 drops of this wine every day. It is very difficult to buy. Junior Marshal Sister Inu, have a taste." Fairy Inu's pretty face turned cold. She leaned back on the soft leather chair and did not say a word. She was not in the mood to savor the pure yang that she had obtained by bullying the weak. However, it seemed that Yang Hua could not be blamed. She could only blame the shopkeeper of the Fragrant Cloud House for taking advantage of his position to bully others. "Senior brother Yang Hua, please help yourself. I want to drink something else." Fairy Inu smiled and ordered some famous classic wines. Yang Hua did not mind. Goddess Inu was just like that. Sometimes she pursued purity too much. What was morality to him? Is it edible? Was Huang Fu Liang moral enough? Hundreds of thousands of years had passed, but he still did not forget to come back from afar to pay his respects to his martial uncle, remembering the kindness of his guidance in the past. But so what? Didn't he get kicked away by Sherbua like a dog? Now, he had fallen to the point where even a restaurant owner could bully him. How pitiful! All right. Yang Hua chuckled and opened the wine pot. He poured a drop of pure yang into his mouth. Instantly, an amazing spiciness bloomed on the tip of his tongue. Pure yang energy flowed into his limbs and bones, making him feel warm all over. His stagnant cultivation level improved a little. As expected of pure yang. Actually, with Yang Hua's wealth, he could not use pure yang for a long time. It was rare for him to have dinner with the number one fairy of the Tai Chi faction, so he was especially generous this time. After tasting a drop, Yang Hua could not hold back his desire. "Yin, you really don't want to drink it?" Yin shook her head slightly. "Senior Marshal brother, you can drink it if you like it. I only need a pot of Lone Moon. Then I won't stand on ceremony." Yang Hua swallowed the second drop without hesitation. That warm and comfortable feeling surged up again, causing Yang Hua to stretch her body comfortably. Good wine is good wine. Not far away, the young shopkeeper's lips curled into a proud smile. Of course, no one who had drunk pure yang would say anything bad about it. Suddenly, Yang Hua's expression froze. He held his stomach in surprise. Then, a piercing pain assaulted her, causing Yang Hua to groan softly. "What's wrong?" Fairy Yin asked in surprise. Yang Hua instilled some primordial power into his stomach and shook his head. "I should be fine. Maybe my body can't take 2 drops of pure yang in a row." Before he could finish speaking, an even more heart-wrenching pain came crashing down. "Ah!" Yang Hua could not help but cry out in pain. He hurriedly instilled more primordial power into his stomach to suppress the pain. However, the pain did not subside. With his stomach as the center, it spread in all directions. His chest, limbs, and head all felt a heart-wrenching pain. "What's going on? My body?" Yang Hua's consciousness told him that his symptoms were not caused by drinking too much. There was something wrong with the wine. At that moment, he did not care how pathetic he looked. He hurriedly said, "Fairy Yin, bring me back to my master's residence. Don't let anyone touch me on the way. Someone poisoned the wine and wants to harm me." Fairy Yin's expression changed drastically. In recent years, there had been many cases of Taiji sect disciples dying tragically. Occasionally, disciples would go missing for no reason. When she heard this, she immediately acted as if she was facing a great enemy. She released a great desolate power to protect the two of them. Her eyes warily looked around, and at the same time, she grabbed Yang Hua and quickly flew away. Before leaving, he took the wine flask that contained pure yang with him. The young restaurant owner, who was sorting out the accounts at the front desk, was caught off guard when he saw this strange scene. He said, "You too, I'll ask the owner immediately. Please wait a moment. Get out of my way." Fairy Yin had long disliked this person, so she was even more cautious now. The young shopkeeper's heart was filled with anxiety, and he had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. How could he be poisoned? That was impossible. Could it be that the two people just now had poisoned the wine jug before they left? However, he did not give any explanation. He grabbed the wine flask directly. It was very difficult for them to poison the wine in front of him. With their cultivation, it was impossible for them to do it. Could they have poisoned it in advance? But it did not make sense. Before Yang Hua came, how could they know what was going to happen? His mind was in a mess, and he could not think of any useful clues. He could only watch as Fairy Yin helped Yang Hua away. The commotion caused by this scene was too great. The expressions of the guests present changed, and they looked at the wine in front of them in bewilderment. "Let's go. Although the wine is good, your life is more important." Soon, the Yunxiang house, which was full of people, was empty. In the private room of the restaurant opposite, Huang Fu Liang was surprised. "Brother Su, what did you do?" Su Yu curled up the corners of his mouth. "Of course, I added some of my unique ingredients into the wine pot." He tapped the table with his fingertips, and a faintly discernible aura of death surrounded the table. With his control of the space law, time law, and death law, how difficult would it be for him to sneak the aura of death into the pure yang wine in front of the restaurant owner? What was rare was that the pure yang wine contained dense pure yang energy. Some of the aura of death mixed into it could not be seen or even felt. Even if the 4 crown emperors were here, it would be difficult for them to notice anything amiss. Ah! I knew that Brother Su would not be willing to suffer a loss. Huang Fuliang's gloomy mood was swept away, and he laughed heartily. Su Yu smiled. Do you think my wine is so easy to steal? Huang Fuliang calmed down a little and said, Won't this kill Yang Hua? If he dies, Yingfeng Xiao will be furious. If he investigates, the 2 of us will not be able to escape responsibility. So what if he dies? Su Yu did not care. As the Yin-Yang elder, we need evidence, right? How can we prove that we did it? Also, you can rest assured that I will not let him die. If he dies, who will help us tear down the Yunxiang house? Huang Fuliang heaved a sigh of relief. He then asked, Do you still have a plan? It's not me, it's Yang Hua. At the same time, Yingfeng Xiao was teaching a talented female disciple in the garden. Suddenly, Fairy Yin Yu hurried over under the steward's lead. Uncle Yingfeng, please take a look at senior brother Yang Hua. Yingfeng Xiao's expression changed slightly. He came over in a flash and said, How did he become like this? Senior brother Yang Hua invited me to drink their pure yang wine at the Yunxiang house, but I did not drink it. Senior brother Yang Hua only drank 2 drops, and he became like this. We suspect that someone is trying to harm us. Yingfeng Xiao's expression changed, and he immediately examined Yang Hua. His eyes were filled with shock. The death law. He pressed his hands on Yang Hua's abdomen at the same time, and with a sudden grab, he pulled out hundreds of hair-thin black silk threads from Yang Hua's body. A thick aura of death made people shudder. Fairy Yin Yu felt a chill run down her spine, and she could not help but step back. Her eyes were wide open. A mysterious person who was good at death had attacked them? The death law was one of the 8 great profounds. How terrifying would a person who had mastered the 8 great profounds be? She could not help but think of a terrifying figure in a black robe shrouded in a terrifying aura of death. Yingfeng Xiao was also very serious, and he carefully got rid of the power of death. Then, his face darkened. Tell me the details. Remember, don't leave out any details. Fairy Yin Yu then explained the ins and outs of the matter clearly. After listening to her, Yingfeng Xiao instinctively suspected that Huang Fuliang was the most likely person to take revenge on Yang Hua. However, if Huang Fuliang had comprehended the death law, would he need to come back here? Therefore, the problem was still with the Yunxiang house. Seeing his beloved disciple falling into a deep coma, Elder Yingfeng was furious. Bring me to the Yunxiang house. Fairy Yin Yu nodded. This matter must be clarified. Apart from them, Elder Yingfeng also brought a few powerful disciples to the Yunxiang house, and they formed a team of about 10 people. At this moment, the Yunxiang house was temporarily closed, and the door was unlocked. Before they got close, they heard a friendly middle-aged voice. Elder Yingfeng, sorry for not going out to meet you. A hook-nosed middle-aged man walked out of the door, and he cupped his fists. I know why Elder Yingfeng is here. Please come in and talk. Chapter 1968. The hook-nosed middle-aged man closed the door and immediately said, I swear on my hundreds of thousands of years of reputation that there is something fishy about this matter. It is definitely not our Yunxiang house's doing. Those 2 guests are very suspicious. I can help the Taiji sect arrest them. Pa. Hearing them shirk responsibility as soon as he arrived, Yingfeng Xiao angrily slammed the table and stood up. At the same time, he shook his sleeve, and a confined power of death appeared. You mean to say that the 2 crowned emperors have mastered one of the 8 profoundness, the law of death? His law of death. The hook-nosed middle-aged man inhaled sharply. I thought the 8 profundities were just a legend. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, it would be hard to believe that someone had really mastered the 8 profundities. Stop putting on an act. I heard the details. Those two had no chance to release the power of death. Only your Yunxiang house has the highest possibility, Ying Fengxiao said angrily. The hook-nosed middle-aged man recovered from his shock, but there was no panic on his face. His Yunxiang house had been established for hundreds of thousands of years. If they really had the intention to harm the Taiji sect disciples, why would they wait until now? Moreover, it was in Yunxiang house's restaurant. Wasn't this a blatant lie? Ying Fengxiao was sure that this was not Yunxiang house's doing. However, Ying Fengxiao wanted to stand up for his disciple. It seemed like he had to bleed a lot. I can swear that this was not done by my Cloud Fragrance House, but Yang Hua met with danger in my restaurant. My Cloud Fragrance House is duty-bound and willing to compensate 60 million divine stones to buy some tonics for Yang Hua so that he can recover soon. Ying Fengxiao snorted. 60 million? You mean to say that my disciple doesn't have to pay for the wine and deserves to be harmed? Then, in your opinion, Elder Ying, how much is appropriate? Ying Fengxiao snorted. Not much, 1 billion divine stones. 1 billion. The young shopkeeper inhaled sharply. Wasn't this asking for too much? Yunxiang House seemed to have a booming business, and the things they sold were extremely expensive, but the cost of all the divine wines was equally high. Even after several years, they could not earn 1 billion. Ying Fengxiao really dared to ask. The hook-nosed middle-aged man's expression darkened. Elder Ying, this is not a discussion. Who is discussing with you? I'm informing you. Ying Fengxiao was unforgiving. If you do not satisfy my disciple today, I will immediately invite them to Taiji sect's Law and Discipline Peak. Let's see if they will still allow your Yunxiang house to continue operating. The expressions of the eagle-eyed hook-nosed man and his nephew changed drastically upon hearing the words Discipline and Discipline Peak. Discipline Peak was an independent force of the Taiji sect. It was under the control of the Taiji sect's sect master, and its function was to restrain all violations of the Taiji sect's commandments. Most importantly, they were not only responsible for the disciples of the Taiji sect but also the entire Taiji civilization. It could be said that wherever there was a crime, they would be able to control it. Furthermore, he had great authority and could act first and report later. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man asked himself how many Yin-Yang elders he had befriended, and he was not afraid of the Yin-Yang elders. But in front of Discipline Peak, what was Yunxiang House? Even the most powerful forces would have to lower their heads in front of the Discipline Peak. If Discipline Peak was really called over, Yunxiang House would immediately close down. Elder Ying, can you make an exception? Such a huge amount of wealth is really... Then there's no need for further discussion. Let's go to the Discipline Peak. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man's expression changed abruptly. He gritted his teeth. Wait. I'll agree. 1 billion divine stones will be sent to Elder Ying's residence in 3 days. That's more like it. Only then did Ying Fengxiao's expression soften. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man forced a smile. Elder Ying, please don't spread word of this matter. Otherwise, Yunxiang House's reputation will be tarnished, and it will be difficult for us to continue operating. As long as you pay up, everything can be discussed. In other words, if the 1 billion divine stones had not arrived, Yunxiang House would have to wait to close down. After sending off Ying Fengxiao and a disciple, the eagle-eyed middle-aged man's expression completely collapsed. 1 billion. It was equivalent to working for nothing for the past few years. A bunch of ruthless wolves. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man cursed in a low voice. The young shopkeeper also said resentfully, Uncle, we didn't do anything shameful. So what if we're called over to Discipline Peak? Slap. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man turned around and slapped him across the face. He scolded angrily, Isn't this all your fault, you little brat? How many times have I warned you to welcome people with a smile when doing business? Don't offend anyone, even if that person looks inconspicuous. Look at you now? You've directly angered a death law adept, and you've lost 1 billion divine stones. He had asked his nephew about the ins and outs of the matter, but his nephew was hesitant. So, he directly asked a few waiters on duty, and learned that his nephew had not only snatched the wine that the shopkeeper was about to drink, but had also withheld 60 million divine stones from the shopkeeper. Hearing this, he knew that the culprits must be those two people. Although they looked ordinary, one of them must be very powerful. As expected, one of them was a death law adept. That was the most terrifying existence among the 8 great laws. Those who cultivated this law were all murderous, sinister, and terrifying figures. His nephew's arrogance and rudeness could be considered to have attracted an unusually terrifying person to him. Now that he had lost a few years' worth of income, he hated his nephew to the bone. "Uncle, I'm sorry." The young shopkeeper covered his face. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man scolded angrily. "What's the use of apologizing to me? Can you change back 1 billion divine stones?" His nephew's arrogance had caused Yunxiang House to suffer greatly. However, he was more resentful of those two people. Their methods could be said to have put Yunxiang House in danger. "You'd better remember what you've suffered this time. If you dare to look down on me again, scram." The young man heaved a sigh of relief. He had escaped a disaster. In the opposite restaurant, Huang Fu Liang could not help but laugh out loud when he saw Ying Fengxiu and the others leave contentedly. "Ha! Guess how much Yunxiang House has lost?" Su Yu smiled lightly. "At least not less than your 60 million divine stones." "Ha, then I'm relieved. Let Yunxiang House learn a lesson in blood, and my anger has been resolved." Huang Fu Liang felt much better. "You're satisfied just like that?" Su Yu nodded. "Yunxiang House only sent Ying Fengxiu, not you." Huang Fu Liang said, "What else do you want?" Su Yu said thoughtfully, "Aren't we thinking about how to establish ourselves in the future? Isn't there an opportunity right now?" His lips curled into a mysterious smile. A few days later, Yunxiang House reopened for business. This time, the eagle-eyed middle-aged man personally oversaw the place to prevent anyone from causing trouble. After a month, Yunxiang House returned to normal. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man thought to himself, that person should be appeased after getting his revenge. As he was thinking, a group of Tai Chi faction disciples entered Yunxiang House, chatting and laughing. Senior Qin has opened up a brand new nursery for the Tai Chi faction. The faction will reward you handsomely this time. Haha, thinking about how precious the 9-yin grass is, it's impossible to grow it in normal soil and environment. Our sect has searched for many years, but we haven't found a suitable artificial planting ground. I didn't expect Senior Brother Qin to find it. I'm so envious. Before Senior Qin becomes rich, I have to hug Senior Qin's thigh. The one being complimented was a young disciple in his early 30s, Qin Weiyang. He had a cultivation base of a double-crown martial artist. Normally, he did not stand out in the faction, and was considered very inconspicuous. On this trip, he had accidentally found a piece of rare mist gold soil under a cliff. It was an extremely rare ancient landform. He had tried to plant a seed of the 9-yin grass there. After a few years, it had sprouted successfully. When the news spread, all the elders were shocked. The 9-yin grass was the main ingredient for refining the 9-yin elixir, a secret medicine unique to the Tai Chi faction. What was the 9-yin elixir? It was a heaven-defying medicine that the Tai Chi faction's 3 great emperors could use to cultivate. Every one of them was extremely precious. Even the elders had to accumulate hundreds of years of merit to exchange for one from the faction. However, because the environment in which the 9-yin grass grew was extremely harsh, this elixir was very rare. Every one of them was a rare item that could make the yin-yang elders fight to the death for them. Therefore, one could imagine how great Qin Weiyang's contribution was this time. At the very least, he would be rewarded with a 9-yin elixir. If he was lucky, he might be chosen by a yin-yang elder and be accepted as a disciple. His status could be said to have risen with the tide. Therefore, many friends who were not too distant or too close to him warmly invited him to congratulate him. Qin Weiyang was overwhelmed by the favor and gladly agreed. The eagle-eyed middle-aged man was delighted. With so many Tai Chi faction disciples, he would make a fortune today. However, he also became cautious. To prevent a similar poisoning incident from happening again, he personally delivered all the wine they ordered. Moreover, he deliberately left all the tables nearby empty to prevent anyone from approaching and poisoning them. However, he did not notice that there was a faint speck of dust on Qin Weiyang's shoulder. The 10 or so Tai Chi faction disciples chatted for an hour before leaving. Seeing that they were fine, the eagle-eyed middle-aged man heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like that person had completely left and would not cause trouble again. Just as he was thinking, Qin Weiyang suddenly clutched his stomach and fell to the ground in pain. "Senior brother Qin, what's wrong?" "Ouch, my stomach, ah. My chest hurts." Me too. Not good, the wine is poisoned. Someone wants to harm us. Quick, leave Yunxiang House and call for help on the streets. Recently, there had been rumors about the Tai Chi faction. Their masters had warned them to be careful when they went out. If they encountered something wrong, it was best to find a crowded place to call for help. At this moment, there were Tai Chi faction disciples occasionally walking on the street. If they met with them, they would be safe. The group of Tai Chi faction disciples who could walk all staggered out of the clouds and collapsed on the streets, shouting, "Quick! Quick, inform the Tai Chi faction." The eagle-eyed middle-aged man's mind went blank. Something big had happened. More than 10 Tai Chi faction disciples had been poisoned at the same time. They could not hide it even if they wanted to. As expected, someone immediately informed the nearby Tai Chi faction base. A group of Tai Chi faction elders rushed over and immediately rescued the unconscious disciples inside and outside Yunxiang House. Among those who participated in the rescue was Ing Fengxiao.